India and the world. Welcome to the Global Pop-Up Newsroom hosted by the Asian College of Journalism. I am Gesu Bhardwaj coming to you live from ACJ's integrated newsroom in Chennai to bring you a crucial show addressing the global climate crisis. The Global Pop-Up Newsroom is a cutting-edge way for us to connect with and bring together the stories of people from across the world. It is a contemporary way of asking relevant questions and discussing collective solutions for issues that affect all of us despite the boundaries that we share. The brainchild of Dr. Melissa Wall from California State University, Northridge, the pop up newsroom travels the distance and goes a step further to address issues of global concern. According to the United Nations, climate change is the defining crisis of our time, and it is happening even more quickly than we feared. We have student journalists and reporters from around the world with stories on climate crisis. We have on board student journalists from Asian College of Journalism spread all across Chennai, University of Calicut in Kerala, Comilla University in Bangladesh. It does not just end here. We also have Newcastle University in the United Kingdom, California State University, Fresno in the USA. We also have an accomplished team of journalists joining us from Africa. All of these stories together will help you get an idea of how climate crisis has impacted the globe as a whole. Through different continents, we have tried to join hands and give you a larger picture of what climate crisis is doing to us. I hope all of you are ready to better understand the gravity of the climate crisis across continents. We are live on Facebook, so make sure you share this with your friends. Also, as and when any of you have any questions from any of the reporters or the experts, kindly leave them as comments in the comment section and we will make sure to get back to you. To contextualize our theme, which is the climate crisis, let me walk you through some of the basics. As per the United Nations, climate change refers to long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. These shifts may be natural, but since the 1800s, human activities have been the main driver of the change, primarily due to the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas. As the questions of sustainability and global emissions become very, very vital, our global report will actually uncover the realities on ground. The United Nations Climate Change Conference, which is also called COP27, closed today with a breakthrough agreement to provide loss and damage, funding to vulnerable countries hit hard by the climate crisis. All right, let's plunge into it and get the show started. Up first, we have Megha Nair, currently in Tanampet area in Chennai. Megha is going to cover the reuse house, which is essentially based on the hedonistic sustainability model. Now, hedonistic really just means sustainability that adds to human experience and is fun to practice. Megha, hi, show us what you've got. I'm afraid we cannot hear you.
Hi, so
Yeah.
I'm at the Reuse House in Tenampet, Chennai, an example of adaptive reuse and innovative reinvention. Made from scrap fabric, fallen logs, and old industrial materials, the house is a perfect example for sustainable living and home building. Let me take you through the 30-year-old house, which has been refurbished by the owners and architect couple, Amar and Mridula Chaudhary. The house is an innovative example in sustainability, starting from the foyer area itself. The tiles, the couple not wanting to allow material and manpower wastage, they pasted new tiles over the old and stained marble flooring using adhesive. In the foyer area itself, we get a sustainability conscious uh, vibe where the foyer area furnishes an old wooden bench which has been sliced from an old fallen tree near the house. Also the foyer area furnishes fluted wooden balls. Walking on to the common area, we have a carpet, and not a usual one at that. If you look closely, it is a denim carpet made of old trees which have been cut open and stitched together to make a jean carpet. To the left, we have the living area, which also boasts of wood reused from the old tree in the foyer area. The top of these stools have been made from the wood used from the old tree, while the base of each table and stool has been refurbished from a working lathe machine procured all the way from Jodhpur in Rajasthan state of India. The lathe machine is a working lathe machine which enables the wheelbarrow to be spun, enabling an adjustment in the height. So it is a sustainable model for living room furniture. Moving on to the open dining area to the left of the living room, we have another sustainable and eco-friendly furniture, which is the dining table and the dining chair. Similar to the living room table, the dining table also has been made from the base of the dining table has been made from a working lathe procured all the way from Jodhpur, and the top of the table has been made of sliced wooden panels stuck together using adhesive, with the natural edges retained for naturality. Another specialty of these chairs is that the metal frame of the chairs has been procured from the same metal workshop in Jodhpur, from where the metal was molded and reframed into this shape. This chair style is famous. It had been made famous by famous architect Charles Eaves. Another speciality of the dining room is the chandelier itself, which has been made from old plumbing pipe used by the architect couple in their older projects and mechanical gears. The halogen bulbs seen here have not been outsourced, but rather made by the architect Mridula Chaudhary herself using blown glass to replicate the traditional halogen bulb. All the wooden furniture in the house has been made by local artists, which boasts of another sustainability factor. Moving on to the walls, the garden wall in the patio proudly boasts of the reuse principle because the bricks have been reclaimed from old sites near the house and rebuilt into a wall because, according to the architect couple, older bricks are more durable. And the same principle can be seen in the white wall cladding of the living area as well. So, a home is usually uh, conceptualized first and then developed. But the reuse home in Tenampet was developed alongside its execution. This home is truly an ode to what famous architect Charles Ames once said. The details are not the details, they make the design. Over to you, Gesu.
Thank you so much, Megha. And wow, that really was something. I mean, there were so many takeaways from this report. One being that sustainability is not just a holistic way to look at a better future, but it can also be so, so beautiful and pleasant to the eyes. I definitely really liked the report. And thank you so much for being with us. Uh, the another thing that we'll be addressing after this is a story about plastic. We see it every day, tons of it. I, in fact, for one, remember this collection started by Adidas where they made shoes out of plastic. But have you ever heard of roads being made by using waste plastic? With more on the story, we have Navya. Hi, Navya.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, how is it going? What have you got for us?
So I'm right now, I'm currently inside the Greater Chennai Corporation building, and it's a working day for them. So it's just the usual working day in the corporation. So I'm just trying to blend in. So The GCC has been in the news recently for giving the red flag to making use of plastic for making roads. In Chennai, usually roads have to be relaid every 5 years, but plastic roads can last up to 15 years. Another benefit of plastic roads is that they can be laid in all weather and temperature conditions. Also, as it only requires less bitumen, it's also more cost effective. Despite these proven benefits, the GCC has not yet warmed up to the idea. Officials have dismissed the idea as not being user friendly, and they feel that it will indirectly encourage the use of single use plastics. So, as we know, single use plastics are banned in Tamil Nadu, and the government is coming down heavily on the use of single use plastics. If you have been following the news recently, they recently seized more than 2,000 kilograms of banned plastic. But that is exactly why such a project is so viable in Chennai. This project can easily be done using the seized or collected plastic. Using plastic for laying roads is not something new. Many countries around the world have gone through this path. Just 2 days ago, Belgium opened its first cycling path made partly of plastic waste. Let's hope that Chennai follows suit very, very soon. Over to you, Gesu.
Thank you so much, Navya. That was actually really, really informative. You know, whatever step we take in the direction of the environment is basically fighting the good fight. And I'm glad we're talking about this. Also, Navya, we have a question by one of our viewers. Vibha Madhva has asked, is anyone taking up the issue with the GCC currently in terms of petitions or otherwise?
So, media has reported the issue widely, and a lot of experts support the idea of using plastic. But the GCC has not yet, they have not budged on their stand. So, hopefully, with more coverage and more pressure from experts, we will see a change in stance.
Right, right. I hope the answer helped, Vibha. And yes, moving on, we have the next story, which is about the Chennai's Sparrow Queen, Sadhna Rajkumar. Set out on a mission to help the endangered sparrows. She's one woman army, and Miss Sadhna started off by making handmade nests. Ishita, who is currently with Sadhna Rajkumar, will get us more on this. Ishita, let's get into it.
Thank you, Gesu. So currently I'm standing at the Sparrows Friendly and Specific Terrace of Dr. Sadhna Rajkumar, a nutritionist turned conservationist. But before we get back to her, let me just show you around the place now.
Yes.
So what you can see, except a few crows, and if you see the sky, I think it's visible, right? So it's empty. There are no noises of the birds that were once commonly seen chirping in Chennai, but they are now barely ever seen because the Bombay Natural History Society has revealed that house sparrows, have now become extinct in India, and Chennai is the worst hit cities among them. So let me just show you and introduce you to Sadhna Rajkumar. Well, she's a lady on her own. She's a nutritionist turned conservationist and has started a tireless campaign to build nests and help sparrows live freely in India in 2010. And so far, she has distributed 1,700 nests across India. So, hello, ma'am.
Hi. Hi, Ishita.
If you could just talk about the initiative and how the long-term impact is harming the environment of the loss of sparrows.
Okay. I'm so happy that you chose this topic because sparrows once they loved human habitation and they always coexisted with us. And I, as a child, grew up with sparrows. Like we had this open to sky ventilated houses where cats, dogs, and sparrows were part of the family. And down like later on in the 90s, my mother one day she pointed to the fact that she couldn't spot one single sparrow also. Only then I realized that sparrows were gone, at least partially gone. It's because of the rapid urbanization which has robbed them of their habitat. It's a very sad thing. Like our modern houses are only for us and not for these small birds which loved human habitation. And then they never got these ecological resources for sustenance, and then loss of water bodies, because you see all commercial buildings in those places, commercial exploitation, and environmental degradation because of use of chemical pesticides in agriculture. Like when these small birds, when they peck on these poisoned food grains, they don't survive. And these small fledglings also don't get the right food, and they don't see the day again. So these are the various reasons as to why we have lost them. People think that it's radiation which is a cause for the loss of sparrows, but definitely not. Radiation at the most affects the navigational skills, but doesn't kill the bird. Because if it were to kill the birds, I don't think even we will be alive here today, because our DNA matches very closely. In fact, they were used as canary birds, earlier during when they dug caves and all that. They used to insert sparrows to see if they come out alive. Only then they'll, these mines and all that. So that was the close relationship we had with these sparrows. And you may wonder why sparrows, because sparrows like a leadership, they represent the bird population. So we know sparrows which have been close to us. If we have lost them, I wonder what's the fate of the other birds. And bird population is very important for us, because if the bird population is completely wiped out, survival will be very difficult, because you'll be surrounded with insects and worms, because all these birds feed on insects. And you see in Chennai, we have mosquito population is on the rise. Because of mosquitoes, we have dengue and deadly diseases are on the rise. If only we had our sparrows with us, we could have easily controlled those mosquitoes. So in the ecological chain, sparrows play a very important role. And of course, it's a stress buster to have sparrows in the house chirp. Waking up to sparrows chirps is really, brings so much happiness and liveliness in the life.
Ma'am, if you could show us the nest that you built and how do you design that specifically?
So these nests are they're eco-friendly. First of all, they made from clay. Earlier, I made these wooden boxes, but now since again cutting off trees and creating a habitat somewhere, I didn't like cutting off trees. So I thought I went to this. I chose this getting soil from the thing and creating nests. It's been beautifully designed. It's tailor-made for sparrows. You see the entrance hole is very small. No other bird will enter. And the other thing is only the sparrows would build nests inside houses. Unlike the other birds. They choose tree branches and barks and all that. Sparrows, they always love to build house inside your house. And this has to be fixed inside your balconies. See, we don't have these open-to-air ventilated houses now, because the modern architecture doesn't allow that. Since all of us have verandas and balconies, all you need is a small space somewhere, about 10 feet high in your veranda. Fix this nest and just leave it. Then if you want to attract sparrows, also create this environment of placing a small water bath like this. And then so that they don't go hungry, they don't go thirsty, because dehydration also kills the bird. And then place a bird feeder. You can either make a bird feeder, or you can also sprinkle a handful of grain so that these birds don't die of hunger. So when you create this, like hosting a nest, fixing a feeder, and placing a water bowl, definitely we can bring back our sparrows amongst us.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really nice interacting with you. Well, Gesu, as you can see, besides the nest, beside the sprinklers, beside the water pot, there is one more thing which is very important for sparrows to survive. That is the rich vegetation. And as they say, teaching begins at home. So Dr. Sadhana Rajkumar has just sown the seeds of the fruit that she eats. Being a nutritionist, she knows how nutritious it will be for sparrows to feed on them. So when the fruit ripens, as soon as they ripen, sparrows just come up here, feed on them, and they really feel like home. As you can see, there's mango, there's pomegranate, there are lots and lots of variety of rich vegetation in the terrace itself. So sparrows are not just some bird species that have become extinct in India. The whole life cycle depends on them. We have learned it since childhood that you feed the beetles, then the process goes on. It's a life cycle, it's a process, it's a circle. So the circle of life will be harmed if sparrows will become extinct on our planet. Over to you, Gesu.
Well, thank you so much, Rishita. And you're in fact quite right. Plus, I love it when the energy transfers through the camera, and that's exactly what Miss Sadhana did for us, especially when she talked about things that she's so passionate about. The report was really nice. Before you leave, Rishita, there is a question we have from Amar Panikar. It says, what can residents do to make sure we create a better environment or habitat for sparrows?
Ma'am, if you would love to answer
Yeah,
this.
definitely. As I said, host a small nest. Either it can be a terracotta nest or a small cardboard box. Also, when we buy sandals and shoes, you get these boxes, right? You can create a small 2-inch hole in that and fix it in your balcony. And then definitely, a small feeder also will attract them. And then a small water bath for these birds to bathe in as well as to drink also. And then have some flowery plants and vegetable garden, which will attract insects, because these plants are their hosts to these insects and worms. So the sparrows will happily peck on these insects and feed the young fledglings. Right. So this way you can definitely attract the sparrows. We've seen so many success stories in Chennai only.
And ma'am, what was your success story? When did you first got your first sparrow?
My first sparrow, I started in 2010. You won't believe, Ishita, the next day the sparrows occupied the nest. That was the instant foods. Like the next day in 24 hours, they were desperate, looking for a house.
Yeah, true.
So, and that's all. It was a green signal for me from the environment, and I started off.
Yeah. So the creation of vegetation and natural habitat will begin from home, and every home should have a nest, eco-friendly, of course, for sparrows to survive in.
It was a lovely report, Ishita. Thank you. And also tell Ms. Sadhana that her contribution was great. Up next, we have Malvika, who is currently at the Buckingham Canal in Chennai and is checking on the sewage disposal system. While the residents dispose of untreated garbage in the river water, the river is left to flow with the untreated water. Malvika, will you get us more on this, please?
Yes. So hi, Gesu. I'm standing right in front of Adyar River, where the long-suffering residents of Chennai have been living with a dead river. So now the Adyar River, which flows through the heart of the city, it meanders sluggishly through the river, carrying sewage and dangerous pollutants. Let me take you around the place. So the Greater Chennai Corporation is well on its way to completing the dense plantation drive along the Adyar River, as you can see there. And according to corporation documents, they have planted over 60,000 saplings. So the primary aim, according to corporation officials, is to improve the green cover, which at present stands at a measly 11% in the city. And this plays a direct role in tackling pollution and rejuvenation of the city's major rivers. Now, as you can see on this side, there are many illegal encroachments which block the canals which connect Porur Lake surplus to the Adyar River. And during the monsoon, it leads to flooding in many areas through the waterways. So according to reports, residents say that they are not able to go to work or school due to the stagnation of water. Now, after a gap of nearly 7 years, the government is planning to restart a drive to relocate nearly 50,000 families along the Adyar River to various resettlement tenements built across the city. Now, after the major floods in 2015, there was no major resettlement drive undertaken along the Adyar River, barring a small drive to relocate 3,000 families. So while the corporation has made some progress in tackling these issues, it has been at a very slow pace. Now, with the climate crisis looming over all of our heads, it is very important to ensure that progress is at a much faster rate to combat these issues. This is all from Adyar River. Over to you, Gesu.
Thank you so much, Malvika. In fact, it's very important through your report. I'm sure our viewers understood how so many things are intertwined. Climate change is not just about temperature, but also about us as people, you and I, and everyone else in between. Well, thank you so much. And it was a great report. So, switching gears a little bit, we move on to our next story, which is about the restoration of Pallikaranai Marshland Park. Jyotsna, who is at the location, will help us get a better hang of the situation on ground. Jyotsna, how is it going over there? What do you have for us?
Hey Gesu, so I'm here at the Palikarnai Marshland Park, and today is a really hot day, as well as it's also supposedly the best time to visit the park because it's super quiet only now, as opposed to the evening and the morning. So let me just take y'all around the park. So as you can see, Palikarnai Marshland Park was this eco park was created in 2018. The project started in 2018 and it was backed by the Tamil Nadu government along with the Chennai Corporation and the Public Works Department of Chennai. So this particular park, especially Palikarnai, is supposed to be one of the largest inlands inland ecosystems in Chennai, and the park itself is like used to be a toxic waste dump at one point of time. So in fact, like when people used to drive by the park before it was a park and it was just simply a marshland, the stench of it was very strong. The stench from waste material that's been dumped along the marshlands would reverberate up to 10 kilometers across the stench that goes up to like Medavakam from Palikarnai and Velachery. So this particular site is supposed to be a breeding ground for migratory birds as well as rare fish and reptiles as well. And over the years, like the entire marshland, it ranged about like 50 kilometers, 50 square kilometers as of 2 decades back. And right now, where the marshland is shrunk to less than 5 kilometers, and that's a little alarming. So the Tamil Nadu government, along with the union government, that called for a project that started in 2017 called Conserving the Wetlands of India, Conservation of Wetlands in India. And it's a larger project, and the Tamil Nadu government, along with the union government, spent around 860 crores towards the restoration of this park as well. And so we still have a long way to go with respect to restoration of the Palikarnai marshlands as well. And but it's great that the efforts are being put in, and this has been pegged as a Ramsar site, which basically means that Ramsar is a convention that started in 1971 in Iran, and it's an international treaty that was signed for the protection of wetlands. So that's we look forward to what the government has in store with respect to conserving the park as well as other areas that have been polluted from IT companies as well as factories, as well as the MRTS local railway line that happens to span across the city as well. Over to you, Kesu.
Thank you so much, Jyotsna. That was, in fact, a very well curated report to begin with. Also, before you leave, we have a question. Parvati Sukumar has asked, what is the residents' response to this? Like, what are the residents doing about it?
So actually, the residents have very little awareness with respect to what's happening with the marshland. So as much as the marshland's been taken advantage by, like, corporate companies as well as government-based businesses as well, like there are residential tenements that have come that have encroached on the marshland as well. So in a lot of ways, although right now there have been activists who have pledged to have the marshland restored, so there is very little awareness among residents themselves. They don't know the extent of which the pollution has crept into the marshland itself. So the only sense of awareness they have now is with the restoration project itself.
You know, Jyotsna, just a few days back, I was reading in a report how 1/3 of the world's wetlands have been wiped off because of urbanization and pollution. So I think your report just tells us how urgent this is. It's hitting home now. Thank you so much for your report, Jyotsna. I will see you soon. Next in line is Roshni, who is at the Perungudi dump yard and will unfold the biomining project, which is in operation there. Roshni, yes, there you are. I think we lost Roshni for a bit. But yes, that's a part and parcel of a global pop-up newsroom. So we will move on to the next reporter and we will come back to Roshni as and when it's possible. The next reporter that we have is Aishwarya, and Aishwarya will actually talk about how there is so much that needs to go into bringing a long-term change, right? And I think Aishwarya is unable to join. Do we have Aishwarya here? Recap stories. We will wait. Um, the story, I think there's some problem with Aishwarya joining. There might be a network issue, but that's okay. For now, I think there were so many takeaways from each of the stories that we did. I, for one, especially really liked the sparrow story. Maybe the audience that's watching us can tell us in the comment section which was the story that moved you the most out of the ones that we heard. And other than this, we have a few more reporters lined up. But like I said, there's a slight network error, but please be with us. I think we're back on track. Thank you for being with us despite the confusion. So yes, next in line again, the person who we lost connection with is Roshni, who is at the Perungudi dumpyard and will unfold the biomining project, which is in operation there. Roshni, do we have you? Please tell me we do. Roshni? Yes, finally, I can hear you. I'm afraid I can't. Yes, I can see you too.
Okay.
Yes. What have you got for us?
So I am at the Perungudi dumpyard. So let me tell you about this dumpyard a bit. So this dumpyard is 200 acres long, and over the last 30 years, 35 lakh tons of waste have been dumped here. And finally, the Greater Chennai Corporation, that is GCC, has taken the initiative to clear this entire area. For that, they have started what is known as biomining activity. So this project was supposed to happen in May 2020, but due to the COVID-19, it got delayed. And finally, in January 2021, they have started with their project. So as you can see, this is the area, this is the gate, and this is the area where the waste have been dumped. And this is the area where the biomining cycle is going on. So the aim of this project is to clear this entire area within the next 3 years. So the process is that they are collecting waste, waste like plastics and polythene bags, and they are taking it to some selected factories where they are transforming it to in fuel. And and the significant amount of this waste is recycled here, and they are recycling it, and the soil that they will be obtaining from that will be used for refilling process. So what they are doing is that they are not just
I think we might have lost our connection with Roshni, but like I said before, this is bound to happen since it's a digital global pop-up newsroom. Every area has a very different network connection. But yes, most of these reports actually make us realize how these problems exist right besides us, and our little efforts can go a long way to bring change. Now we will take you to an interesting place. It's the Mahindra World City, where Prasad will tell us more about an organization called the Community. They have planted more than 6 lakh trees all across the country, actually the city, I'm so sorry. And I, for one, can't wait to see what the report holds for us. Prasad, are you there?
Which we breathe on our day-to-day basis. But in the ideal world, people don't give much importance to the nature and the resources which we utilize on our day-to-day basis. But one organization who is involved in creating a man-made forest across the city, they have planted more than 8 lakh trees in past 3 years. To let you know more, let's go to Mahindra World City, where they have planted more than 3 lakh trees in the past 1 year.
I am right now in the Mahindra World City. You can see a dense kind of forest, but this place is actually not a natural forest. This is a man-made forest by Mr. Hafiz Khan. The man-made forest was created during 2019 with the support of Mahindra Motors. During the first phase, they have planted more than 1 lakh trees. Apart from Mahindra World City, they have planted more than 8 lakh trees across Chennai city. They have volunteered more than 1,500 people for maintenance of this particular place. And the most important thing, there are more than 3 lakh trees now and with different kinds of species like guava, neem and custard apple. To get more information about this place, we have the man who created Mr. Hafiz Khan. Hello Hafiz.
Hi.
Can you please tell me how this all begins, how it started? Because you planted more than 8 lakh trees.
Right.
It's not an easy thing. As an individual person, how it's all started? What's motivated? How it pushes you to want to do this type of community thing to the society?
All right. See, like everyone else, Prasad, even I was planting trees and forgetting them. We used to get huge news coverage, huge television coverage, and the press and the media and the social media. And everyone used to congratulate and wish, you feel wow about it, you feel great about it. But then in 4-5 years ago, Chennai had the worst floods and Chennai had the worst storms. And we lost so much of green cover and so much of devastation happened. Only then I realized that climate action is for real, and what the scientists and these people are talking about is really happening, and it's really happening near to me itself. So only then I realized and started to take action about it. It's no point grumbling and bitching and complaining about organizations and the government and the people. So what is that as an individual? What is that we can do? That's when we started about adopting our trees. And as of today, we have planted 8.2 lakh trees. And wherever we plant, we maintain them, we manage them, we nurture them, we involve and engage various communities. And that's how we were able to do this transformation.
Yeah, in a recent research I studied in somewhere, will be a 1 degree increase in temperature. Does a 1 degree increase in temperature really matter in a global environment? What do you think about that?
Okay, see, most of the people do not understand or not realize or not able to relate, because we're used to a harsh summer, we're used to winters getting colder. Does 1 degree really matter? Does it really bother? Does it really impact? People all the time take it careless or take it easy and take it as a no botheration at all. But then the most simple and the most easiest example would be that our body temperature is 98 degrees, right? Imagine if it is 1 degree more, okay, 99 degrees. Are we feeling the same energy? Are we feeling the same excitement? Are we able to do our same activities, running around and going with our regular offices and businesses and cooking and eating and whatever? Are we able to do that? Actually, no, we feel very weak, we feel lethargic, we feel lazy, we feel sloppy, we feel a headache, we want to lie down. Just 1 degree more, right? See, imagine 1 degree more for the plants. The trees would not be able to give the produce. Imagine 1 degree with the birds. All the birds will be weak, they will not be able to fly. Imagine 1 degree with the fish, will they able to swim as fiercely? So that is the kind of impact it's going to be. And that's going to be really, really huge. And we may lose so many of the species on this particular planet. That's the power of 1 degree more.
Okay, as an individual, what can I do?
See, as an individual, everyone has a responsibility towards the planet, okay? So the best way of life is to lead a sustainable lifestyle. So whenever we buy something, think whether it's a responsible purchase. Whenever you eat something, see whether we're not wasting anything. Whenever you are traveling, see whether am I impacting the planet in whatever ways possible. So wherever possible, reuse. Wherever possible, reduce wastage. Wherever possible, reclaim whatever has been lost. Wherever possible, respect the planet, and then it's going to be a better and a beautiful world. And
as Mr. Hafiz Khan said, it's our responsibility to create a beautiful environment for upcoming generation. Start planting a single tree. Let's make our future more bright and shine.
If we not plant a tree 25 years back, it's the best time to plant a tree right now. So let's create a better future for our future generations.
After
This
Prasad,
is
it's
a
Anusha.
man-made forest.
All right. Thank you so much for that report, Prasad. I'm sure all of us took away a lot from that report, mainly how important it is to plant trees. For the next report, Anusha, who is at Kannagi Nagar, will be talking about the resettlement of people because of beautification of the city. She will unfold the truth of poor waste management behind the facade of beautification and making our cities look more aesthetic. Anusha, let's see what you have for us.
Is Kannagi Nagar, which is Chennai's largest and the earliest resettlement. These are slums. So people here came here on 2006 tsunami. So it's Chennai's first largest resettlement. And if you see at this place, this is one of the Chennai's art districts too. So this place looks really beautiful from outside because its walls have great paintings. But when you get into slums, you'll see that the place is totally trashed because this place is choked in pollution and plastic. And this is just a corner of the slums. And we have more places. When you go inside the slums, you'll see that the place is not suitable for any people to live at. From the earliest, this place is facing. From the earliest, this place is facing a lot of issues related to waste management. So here we have Mariammal to talk about the issue here. இந்த விஷயத்தை
குப்பை நிறைய கொட்டி எல்லாம் வரமாட்டாங்க ஸ்மெல்லு வருது நாத்தம் பயங்கரமா சாப்பிட முடியல குழந்தைங்க எல்லாம் நிறைய இருக்குது ஜுரம் வருது குழந்தைங்களுக்கு ஜுரம் வருது கப்பமூச்சி வருது சவுக்குள்ள வருது எல்லாம் ஏதோ பூச்சி எல்லாம் வருது பயங்கர நாத்தம்.
So what you're saying is that this place is totally trashed and there is nobody to help them. So they have been going to the slum board ever since they came here for like 13 years, but the slum board has taken no measures to for the waste management here. So the place is totally trashed and they are facing issues like snake bites, mosquitoes, and a lot of issues with worms and a lot of issues that the children here are facing a lot of health hazard. So here we have a bunch of ladies who can talk more about this issue.
புழு வருது ஒரே நாத்தம் நிக்க முடியல பசங்க வர முடியல நீங்க மூட சொல்லிடுங்க அவ்வளவுதான் பாம்பு வருது நைட்ல
எவ்வளவு நாளா சொன்னா நீங்க இந்த
நாங்க வந்து இப்ப 8 வருஷம் ஆக போகுது 2015 வந்து சைதாப்பேட்டை ஆத்மா நகர்ல இருந்து வந்தோம் 2015 இருந்து நாங்க வந்தோம் சாப்பிட முடியலங்க சாப்பிட முடியல மொட்டை மாடியில 4வது மாடியில இருந்து தண்ணி ஊத்துது
saying that it's very difficult for them to have meals here because of the stinky environment right here. They are living almost எத்தனை வீடுங்க இருக்காங்க? It's a 180 over 180 families are living in this block and they are facing the same issue. But there is no measures are taken so far. So that's all. Over
Thank you so much, Anusha. That was actually a good report. And I mean, the thing about waste management is it's one of the biggest issues of urbanized centers in the country. Also, before you leave, Sambhavi has a question, and she says, "Is anything being done to contain the issue?"
They have kept yes, Sambhavi. They have kept some waste baskets here and there, but it's not at all working because they have kept it like 500 meters away from where they actually live, and the place here, if we see here, it's totally dark. So this area is also behind that wall. There is the same issue of waste accumulation. But the thing is that they have closed the area. Now they are going to close this area as well. So they are going to lose the only sunlight they are getting and the air circulation. So instead of taking away the garbage from here, they are trying to close the area and solve the problem. So these people are asking for at least they could do that because these people are really desperate because of all these issues that I told: worms, snakes, mosquitoes, the health hazards, and everything. So the slumlords here are doing actually cheating to these people because instead of taking away the garbage, they're trying to close the area and continue putting the garbage there.
Anusha, we have one more question for your report. Akash Karthikeyan has asked, what are the residents' efforts on this issue? Like, what are the efforts that they're making? I mean, you talked about some of them just about now, but is there anything else also that they're doing?
Some of the women here have tried to change the plastic waste here in some products, but it also didn't go well because this place is the people here live here are below the they are below the poverty line, and
Right.
most of them are living a very bad life in matter of money and social discrimination. So this area is totally stereotyped because if anyone from this area go for a job, they ask, you're from Kannadi, so you can't join this job because this area is totally stereotyped as well. But the
Yeah.
people here are really sweet when it comes to these women. They actually shared all their problems with me with the for waste management. So the things that is done here are, as I said, the slum board is not at all cooperating with these people. They are actually treating these people like trash. It's like basic, human needs are not taken care of.
Right. Uh, I'm very happy that we're covering this and uncovering these stories, but at the same time, it makes me excruciatingly sad and also angry to actually see how helplessly we've left this entire section of society to suffer. Anyway, thank you so much, Anusha. Uh, are there more things? Yeah, okay, that's right. Moving on, while 70% of the earth is covered with water, fresh water only makes up 2.5% of it. Climate change and population boom have adversely damaged our water resources. So much so that in the climate crisis, after a rise in temperature and fossil fuels, melting glaciers and depleting water is the emergency. Next up, uncovering a very similar story is Aishwarya, who is reporting from the Kuam River in Chennai. Kuam, which is one of the major rivers in Chennai, is being restored. Hi Aishwarya, can you tell us more? Aishwarya, can you hear me? I cannot hear you.
Yes.
Aishwarya, your voice
Yes.
is breaking.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can. I can.
Yes. Okay. This is a moderately sunny day, and here I am on the Napier Bridge that is covering the Kuam River. The Kuam River is a 72-kilometer stretch, but for someone who comes or just passes through this bridge can only notice the amount of foul smell that can be noticed and the amount of garbage that is dumped across the banks of the river. And this Napier Bridge, right now where I'm standing, is the start of the Kuam River from the Bay of Bengal. Let me show that to you. If you can see the beach, the Bay of Bengal there, right there. And from there starts the Kuam River into the city of Chennai. It is also called the Tiruvallikeni River, but it is a 72-kilometer long stretch of river that passes through Chennai at three places. That's Kirpot, Nungambakam and Triplicate. So, a little bit of history on this river. This has a long history that goes literally back to the Vedic literature, the Hindu literature that recognizes Kuam as one of the most important rivers for drinking water. And coming to the British colonial period, the Vatican, while creating two distinct dioceses, it used Kuam River as the boundary between Madras and Mylapore. So Chennai was back then called Madras, and Mylapore, one which was considered a port for the Dutch and the Arab traders who came to the southern part of India. So this river marked the border between these two areas in now Chennai. So the churches on the eastern bank of the river were to be taken over by the Mylapore diocese, and those on the western side were to form a part of the Archdiocese of Madras. So this, I'm speaking about colonial period, that is not long ago, maybe a century, max 70 years. But the Coombe River has been in the history for almost millennia together. And so much so that the 17th century beautiful lady Florence Nightingale has called Coombe a nauseating river responsible for most of the diseases in Madras. Well, she hasn't visited Chennai yet, but that is so true. Because owing to the intensive use of surface water upstream for agriculture, discharge of untreated sewage and industrial effluents, and encroachment along the banks, the river, especially the downstream, has been highly polluted. And this, our forefathers of Chennai, I don't think would remember Coombe to be something of this mess that just gives you foul smell or mosquito inhabitation or encroachment, illegal encroachment around the river banks. And a huge portion of the drinking water supply, ironically, for the present day Chennai, comes from the Coombe River Basin. And today, the water-starved Chennai, dealing with the water crisis, has to make a choice. And I think the government of Tamil Nadu has made a choice, and they started the integrated Coombe River Restoration Eco Restoration Plan. It was proposed to take up the restoration from Parudipattu, a part outside Chennai, as the major source of pollution because it was observed that it was a start to the pollution, and to clean the river along throughout the at least the 32-kilometer stretch which comes within the city. And the restoration project is carried out by Chennai Rivers Restoration Trust, wholly owned by the government of Tamil Nadu. And the problems have been the usual problems of foul smell, mosquito breeding, habitat of rodents, and illegal encroachments, slum developments, slow flow and stagnation, and among many others. This eco restoration project, Coombe Eco Restoration Project, was started in 2010, and it was decided, it was actually planned to restore the lake within 6 years, but we are still in 2022, and only half the job has been done. The encroachments have been removed, and the river has been widened by 90 to 100 meters at various places in the city. So, we could say that Coombe hasn't been fully recovered, fully restored, but we could definitely say that there has been a slight improvement to the decade, millennia old river, which holds a very, very important position in the city of Madras, in the capital of Tamil Nadu. Over to you, Jason.
Thank you, Aishwarya. You know what? The fact that you talked about
Yes.
so many issues which are tied up with the Coombe River, where also you're saying that essentially Chennai's drinking water comes from. I think this just explains the urgency that we cannot lack, and we really need to protect our water resources. Like you said, we're already in 2022, only half the work is done. I hope that people are able to hold the government accountable and they're able to work on this faster as soon as we can. But for now, thank you so much. This was a really good report. For the next report, Alicia, who is currently at the Ambattur Lake in Chennai, will be telling us more about the shrinking of the lake because of the pollution and encroachment and the steps that the government is undertaking to make it stop. Alicia, are you there? Yes. Hi, I can see you. Take it away, please.
Hi, guys. So I'm at the Ambattur Lake right now, which is a major water body in the western part of the city, and yet it continues to get polluted due to untreated sewage water being pumped into it. Um, but that's not the only problem here. Let me just quickly show you around. Um, Another problem here is the vegetation that you see right in front right now, and that is supposed to be terrible for the ecosystem. It's also causing the organisms that lived in the lake to suffer. The houses at the border of the lake that you see, they're all built on encroached land, and land encroachment is another issue that has caused the lake to shrink from about 650 acres to 400 acres. Now, there is a case ongoing in the National Green Tribunal where a joint action committee was formed and it listed the Tamil Nadu Housing Board and the Abadi Municipal Corporation as the main respondents, as these are the bodies responsible for pumping untreated sewage into the water body. The Joint Action Committee listed out several tasks for these bodies to carry out as corrective measures. And to put this into perspective, the plan was formed about 2 years ago, and the time frame given to these bodies to carry out these tasks was about 1 to 6 months. And 2 years later, they've managed to complete a grand total of two of these tasks. Now, at the hearing last week, the respondents said that they need a little more time. They need time until 16th December to come up with a response. And meanwhile, the residents of this area are living in a stench that many of us would find unbearable, but they've had to accept as part of their daily life. That's all from me, Geesu. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Elisha. The report really helped me. And of course, I mean, the fact that you spoke about how the river is just, I mean, the Ambattur Lake, we've heard so much about it, right? As residents of the city, people who've stayed in the city, we've heard so much about it. And the fact that with time it's only going in, like, things are going downhill, it really makes me very sad. And I hope that we're able to make a difference very, very soon. Other than this, we have a question actually for you. It's from Malvika Jaydeep. It says, what's the update on the timeline of this?
So I guess I missed the last part. Are you asking for an update on the case?
Yes, that's what I'm asking. There was a question from one of our viewers.
Right. So the case began in 2020 on the suo motu basis. The NGT used its suo motu powers after they saw a report in a Tamil daily called Dina Malar. The article was about the encroachment and uninhibited pollution happening at the lake. Since then, COVID and all of the other reasons listed out by various bodies, they've listed out a bunch of delays for not being able to carry out this task. But the main action plan said that they need to conduct sumps in the neighboring areas, they need to plug illegal water inlets, and the GCC was required to install CCTV cameras around the perimeters to make sure that they can identify any miscreants who are carrying out dumping activities in the middle of the night. Now, some of these tasks were carried out, but then a lot of those facilities are not functioning anymore. And the latest update, according to the hearing on the 25th of November, says that only two of these tasks have been completed. The rest are either incomplete or again have returned to a state of non-functionality. We'll get to know more on the 16th of December in case the respondents plan to submit a response this time.
Thank you, Elisha. You know, through this, it just hit me how most of the problems that we as a society go through, and anybody, like especially people in authority. Okay, I think we've lost Elisha, but the point that I was making is that anybody who is an authority, when they work towards a cause, how after some time they just forget the entire cause, and there's nobody to remind them that the work still needs to be continued. Anyway, this was all from the student journalists of Asian College of Journalism, Chennai. And now we will be moving on to a very interesting place, which is the University of Calicut from Kerala. In the University of Calicut, there is Yasmin, who is the anchor, and she will be joining us and she will row the show ahead. Hi, Yasmin.
Hello, Geesu.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good too. I'm good. Thank you very much. Are all your reporters set?
Yes, they're all set.
Yes, I'm actually very excited to see what have you got for us.
Me too.
And all the best.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Good evening. Welcome to a brand new session of Global Pop-Up Newsroom, and I'm your host Yasmin Hamza, reporting live from Calicut University Newsroom. Today, we're here, a bunch of student journalists, bringing you stories of hardship and mystery due to climate crisis, and also positive stories with a glimmer of hope in the horizon. We're certain the stories from various districts in Kerala will leave a mark and linger on in your minds. Rise of sea level, forest fires, floods, extreme weather, heat waves, and mass extinctions and whatnot. Well, climate change touches our lives in many ways, and it can threaten lives, livelihoods, and our very existence too. And it is often ironic that's the most vulnerable, the have-nots and the poorer, underdeveloped countries who pay the price of this catastrophic climate changes. While governments around the world have taken steps to tackle this problem, one question continues to haunt us. What have we as students done to highlight the local climate stories, to expose the wrongdoers and appreciate those who do good work? So we bring you this climate stories from nooks and corners of little towns of Kerala. And let's begin this journey with Shahana Sharin from Wayanad with a story on a positive note. Carbon neutral Meenangadi. That's the title this little village gained by the combined initiatives of government and the local people. Let's hear the story from her.
Hi, Asmin.
Hello, Shahana.
Okay, we know the current climate crisis have a lot to do with the human activities. So
Yes.
the climate change discussion is now focusing on carbon neutral project, which has this focus on zero carbon development. So we have a very positive story from Meenangadi. Meenangadi being the first panchayat to take initiative to transform a panchayat to a state of carbon neutrality, has several projects. They are now in their second phase where they have launched literacy campaign on climate change. We have K.E. Vinayan, the panchayat president, joining with us now.
Okay.
To step towards carbon neutrality. As a part of achieving carbon neutrality, Panchayat has conducted a baseline survey in 19 wards and the towns of Meenangadi to assess the level of sequestration and the emission. Meenangadi is the one and only one Panchayat in India which has a carbon emission profile. As per the survey conducted, Meenangadi has an excess emission of 15,000 tons of carbon dioxide. In order to make it neutral, Panchayat has taken several steps. As a part of that, we have planted more than 225 trees in different parts of our Panchayat with the help of Mahatma Gandhi National Employment Guarantee Scheme. And the saplings have been supplied by the Social Forestry Department and also by Panchayat Nursery, from Panchayat Nursery also. And that trees has been planted in different parts of the Panchayat. Panchayat has a bamboo park also in 19th Ward Manivail, where we have planted 52 species of bamboos as part of this program. And tree banking is a new concept which is introduced in our Panchayat, in which to a farmer, those who have planted a tree, he will get ₹50 per each after 3 years of planting the tree. For example, if in a farmer's land, if there is 100 trees which have 3 years age, he will get ₹5,000 per year, and it will be given to 10 years without any interest to protect trees and also to encourage farmers to plant trees. And at the same time, we are trying to introduce a new concept also, carbon neutral kitchen, in which the major source of energy in Wayanad, particularly in our Panchayat, is firewood. So in order to reduce the consumption of firewood, energy efficiency mode of stoves and some things like that has to be planning to introduce, and also biogas plan for families are also planning to take this in this financial year.
ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത് എനിക്ക്
Okay, Yasmin, as mentioned by the Panchayat president, it's a successful run by Meenangadi Panchayat in its tree banking, afforestation of private lands, and organic farming. Now, I'm here at an interesting place. Can show you a centralized waste management center of Meenangadi Panchayat, where they collect the plastic waste from all over the Panchayat and segregate it from here. Then they send a part for the recycling, and they have a shredding unit here where they shred tiny plastic to tiny particles and send them for construction work, such as construction of roads. And coming back, as I mentioned, Meenangadi has several projects including carbon neutral kitchen and more. So we can say this, that Meenangadi has become a role model for other Panchayat Raj institutions all over India
Yes.
to follow their pattern to achieve this state of carbon neutrality. Over to you, Yasmin.
Thank you, Shahana. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the information that you've given. Now, alternative eco-friendly sources of energy are the need of the hour, and we have an iconic media organization, the Media One, whose headquarters are powered entirely on solar energy. Bold decision to protect our environment and fight climate crisis since 2021. We have Wanda with a report on the story.
Hi, Yasmin. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Right
you.
now, I'm at the headquarters of Media One news channel, Calicut, Kerala. So, Media One is the first news organization in India to run completely on solar energy. As you can see here, there is the car parking lot of Media One employees. And this is the news headquarters building. The solar panels are actually set on the roof of the building, also on the roof of the parking lot.
Okay.
Okay, we have the CEO of Media One here with us to talk more about the solar plant implemented.
Okay.
Hello, sir. It's really good to have you here. Sir, can you elaborate how the idea of switching completely to solar energy came to your mind and how the plan was executed?
See, we did have a requirement of 100,000 electricity unit on a monthly basis to run this channel, and it comes, around 12 lakhs per month to be paid to the electricity board. So it's a major part of the cost from an operational perspective. So we have been thinking of how we could reduce this cost from a electricity perspective, and also we wanted to go something like eco-friendly operation. So we have alternative energy like the solar panel and things like that. So that is how the idea came in. And we know that there are a lot of institution, organization like the Cochin Airport, of course, that's the best example. I think globally that's an airport running on the solar energy. So that is how we came to this project.
Okay, so it's been 18 months since the solar plant has been installed. So have you had to face any challenges at any point of time?
All right. So in fact, we wanted to go for a 1 megawatt project, but we wanted to execute the 1 megawatt project in this premises of Media One. We didn't have enough space to raise up the solar panel. So that was a great challenge. Otherwise, we should have gone to a different remote premises. From there, we have to carry this production to the electricity board, and from there, we have to bring it back to our operation. So that is a great challenge. So what we did is we did a re-engineering in terms of landscaping. You must have seen that our car park building that is raised as a solar panel, and the rest of the media academy area we placed it, and rest of panels we put up in on rooftop of the channel building and the media academy building. So that was the one challenge, in fact. And second challenge was basically from a regulatory perspective. There are a lot of procedures, liaising with the government and other stakeholders, but fortunately we could do it within the time limit. The other one was, normally all the solar project implementation is from a retail perspective. the residential perspective. And we didn't have a major solution provider from a vendor perspective to execute this project. So we had to go out of Kerala and look around appropriate vendors to establish this project. So those are the main set of challenges we faced.
Okay, so what are the benefits of solar energy and how it benefits the nature?
Definitely, after implementation and the commissioning of this project, we reduced our accident drastically, and we are in fact running on alternative energy, which is solar project that reduced the 12 lakhs of monthly electricity which was paying into the KC. Definitely, we are paying a bit of amount that will be mostly from the fixed charges and things like that. And secondly, if you look at the carbon emission, 660 tons in a year, we could save from a go green perspective. So these are the main benefits. And lastly, but not least, we are the first channel in India, which is running on alternative energy, that is solar panel.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your valuable time.
And you are.
As the CEO of Media One said, nature-friendly and low-cost, Media One is actually setting a model before all of us, a model of energy conservation for a good tomorrow. So this is Varada reporting live from the headquarters of Media One News Channel. Over to you, Yasmin.
Varada, we do have a question from one of our viewers.
Okay.
Malavika Jaydeep have asked, in addition to these measures, is Media One covering stories on climate crisis? What's your take on this, Varada?
Yeah, they have already said that energy conservation and this they have taken this huge step of energy conservation and they're going to a nature-friendly alternative. So definitely they are also covering issues like that. You'll definitely see such stories in their pages and in their channel and all. And I'm sure that they are really covering such issues.
Okay. We do have one more question from Lakshmi Pradeep. Is it very expensive in terms of maintenance?
Sorry, I didn't get that question. Can you repeat?
Is it very expensive in terms of maintenance?
Maintenance, some part of this solar panel is a little bit of high. This is actually not that much. Actually, by implementing solar panels, it is actually low. It costs only low production charges and all. So it is not that much costly. But the maintenance is, we have to do the maintenance correctly so that we'll get the maximum energy from the panel. So that is a thing, but it's not that costly to implement and it's really low cost, as I mentioned that.
Okay. Thank you, Varada. Thank you so much. That was inspiring to hear. Moving on to next, just like a news bureau that makes use of renewable solar energy, the manufacturing of vehicles that runs on electricity, another renewable form of energy, is also increasing. But what is it that holds back people from switching on to e-vehicles? Well, it's definitely the lack of proper electric charging facilities, and Kerala State Electricity Board have come up with a better solution for this. They have initiated an e-vehicle policy and have already installed charging stations across the district. We have Sri Lakshmi joining with us to deliver more about the charging stations in Ramanattukara city of Kozhikode. Yes, you're audible. You can continue.
Hello, Yasmin. I'm right in front of Ramanattukara, a small town in Calicut. So promoting green fuel is the highlight of this newly inaugurated KSEB electric vehicle charging station right in front of me. To fight the menace of air pollution, We need to fight. In order to fight the menace of air pollution, we need to offer viable solutions to the diesel and petrol vehicles. So this electric charging station in front of me is having 4 charging points in order to accommodate several vehicles simultaneously. KSEB, the Kerala State Electricity Board, has installed a network of charging stations across the state. As a part of the e-vehicle policy, work is progressing in several phases. In this present third phase, 56 charging stations are installed across the state. We live in an era where automobile pollution by petrol and diesel vehicles is at an all-time high. Electric vehicles are viable and safe alternatives as they reduce carbon footprint with zero tailpipe emissions. There is no noise pollution too here. But in order to enhance the popularity and use of these electric vehicles, we need a network of convenient charging stations. KSEB's e-vehicle policy seems to be a step in the right direction. A total of 7 electric charging stations in Calicut, located at Pavangad, Tamarasheri, Kuttikattur, Pudupadi, Koilandi, Gandhi Road, and here in Ramanattukara, were inaugurated by Mohammed Riaz, Minister of Public Works and Tourism, and 28th of last month. Several other ministers and officials too associated with the event, indicating the stress on energy conservation. We'll play a video of the event.
കേരള സർക്കാർ പോളിസി പ്രഖ്യാപിച്ചിട്ടുള്ളത് പരമ്പരാഗതമായി നാം പിന്തുടർന്നു പോരുന്ന വാഹന സംവിധാനത്തിൽ നിന്നെല്ലാം മാറി ഇലക്ട്രോണിക് വെഹിക്കിളുകളിലൂടെ ഒട്ടേറെ നേട്ടങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ടാക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി കഴിയുമെന്നുള്ള കാഴ്ചപ്പാടിനെ അടിസ്ഥാനപ്പെടുത്തിയാണ് നമ്മുടെ ഗവൺമെൻറ് ഇത്തരമൊരു പദ്ധതി വിഭാവനം ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ളത്.
ഹരിത കേരളത്തിന് ഹരിതോർജം എന്ന സന്ദേശമുയർത്തി കോഴിക്കോട് ജില്ലയിൽ സ്ഥാപിച്ച സൗരോർജ്ജ നിലയങ്ങളുടെയും ഇലക്ട്രിക് വെഹിക്കിൾ ചാർജിംഗ് സ്റ്റേഷനുകളുടെയും ഉദ്ഘാടനം വളരെ സന്തോഷത്തോടു കൂടി നിർവഹിച്ചതായി അറിയിക്കുകയാണ്. ഇലക്ട്രിക് വെഹിക്കിളെ പ്രോത്സാഹിപ്പിക്കാൻ നമ്മൾ തീരുമാനിച്ചത് നിങ്ങൾക്കൊക്കെ അറിയാം. അവക്ക് പ്രധാനം ചാർജിംഗ് സ്റ്റേഷനുകളാണ്. KSEB ഇപ്പോൾ അതാണ് സാധ്യമാക്കിയിട്ടുള്ളത്. കോഴിക്കോട് ജില്ലയിൽ ഇന്ന് 7 സെൻറ്ററുകളാണ് ഉദ്ഘാടനം ചെയ്യപ്പെടുന്നത്. രാമനാട്ടുകരക്ക് പുറമെ അവങ്ങാട്, കുറ്റിക്കാട്ടൂർ, താമരശ്ശേരി, പുതുപ്പാടി, കൊയിലാണ്ടി, ഗാന്ധി റോഡ് എന്നിവിടങ്ങളിൽ പുതിയ ചാർജിംഗ് സ്റ്റേഷനുകൾ സജ്ജമായിരിക്കുകയാണ്. അതോടൊപ്പം 148 പോൾ മൗണ്ടഡ് ചാർജിംഗ് സെൻ്ററുകളും സജ്ജമാക്കുകയും ചെയ്യുന്നു. പൊതുമരാമത്ത് റെസ്റ്റ് ഹൗസുകളിലും ഇത്തരം പദ്ധതികൾ നടപ്പിലാക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. നമുക്ക് ഭാവിയിലേക്കുള്ള കരുതലാണ് ഈ സംവിധാനങ്ങൾ വ്യാപിപ്പിക്കുക എന്നുള്ളത്. വലിയൊരു മാറ്റം അത്തരമൊരു പദ്ധതി സാധ്യമാക്കുന്നതിലൂടെ വരും. ഹരിതോർജ്ജത്തെ പ്രോത്സാഹിപ്പിക്കുവാനുള്ള എല്ലാ ശ്രമങ്ങൾക്കും എല്ലാ പിന്തുണയും ഉറപ്പും നൽകുകയാണ്.
To save our planet. So according to me, these charging stations is a glimmer of hope in the midst of looming climate crisis. This is Sri Lakshmi reporting from Ramanattukara. Over to you, Yasmin.
We do have a question, Sri Lakshmi. Yukti have asked, do a lot of people in Ramanattukara use electric vehicles?
That is a very relevant question actually. Nowadays, most of the people are relying upon the traditional engine vehicles and many of them have not switched to electric vehicles. Maybe because of the mindset as we all have been used to using the engine vehicles.
Yes.
But I guess people will realize the value of electric vehicles, how they can be a good substitute the present engine vehicles, and then they will switch over to electric vehicles more in the future.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Sri Lakshmi. Thank you so much. Next, now after the warmth of all those positive stories, let's get into the pathetic plight of people living in the coastal areas of Thiruvananthapuram. Well, the beaches in Thiruvananthapuram is facing a serious threat of shore erosion as the lashing waves are taking away people's properties. According to geological experts, beaches, especially the one at Shanmugam, is expected to wash away within a span of 5 years. Let's hear more about the situation from Meenakshi, who will be joining us from Thiruvananthapuram.
Hello, Yasmin.
Hi.
It's a bright, sunny day today. So,
Yes, it is.
I'm here at Shankamukam Valyathura beach in Trivandrum.
Mm-hmm.
Today, the beach is facing a very severe issue. The problem is that the beach is shrinking day by day as the sea continuously pressed it inwards due to man-made and climatic reasons. So, let's ask more details of this to Dr. E. Shaji, who's the head of Department of Geology of University of Kerala, who had conducted a research study on this topic. So, let's ask more details to him.
A team under my supervision have investigated coastal erosion and accretion in the southern part of Kerala, a stretch from Poriyur to Anjudan, around 58 kilometers of the coastal land, have been investigated, and we found that around 2.6 square kilometer area has been eroded away over the last 15 years, and around 70% of the area is having acute erosion. We could link that, over a period of time, the behavior of the wave and the energy of the wave, the behavior of the wave and the energy of the wave and the height of the wave is showing a drastic change. The seawall construction started maybe 40 years back, so, and it is continuing. So these are the impact of the hard structures is also to be investigated. Okay. The hard structures also to some extent contributing the seawalls erosion to certain places, and because here the sediment is transported along the coast, is transporting from south to north. So suppose if you construct a groin, okay, so the southern side you will have accretion. Accretion means you will have sand deposit, but at the same time on the northern side you will have erosion also. So that process is noticed in many places wherever you have constructed groins.
Yasmin, you can see you can see a house which had collapsed recently due to the large waves that hit the shore, and there are adjacent houses here like this collapsed recently due to these waves. And actually there were 5 rows of houses were there in front of this collapsed house, but that houses were completely destroyed away by the waves. And you can see that the beach is shrinking day by day. The space of the shore isn't much left today. So you can also see large big rocks are kept there to protect the houses and other properties that are left from the waves. But it is just a temporary solution for a certain period of time. It is not a permanent solution. So anytime these left houses also can be destroyed away by these rocks. So it poses as a threat to the people and the lives of the people who lives here. So there are various reasons for this, and earlier these climatic crises are more concentrated in Bay of Bengal, but today it is more constantly occurring in Arabian Sea. This is because the average temperature of Arabian Sea is rising day by day due to the rapid warming of Indian Ocean. So the rising of temperature means that the air will have more moisture and sea will have more wind, which leads to the rough waves that hits the shore and leads to the erosion of shore. Also, this kind of unscientific construction of seawalls and other fortifications around shore area also leads to the erosion and other climatic crisis in sea. And another major reason is that we all know Vizhinjam Port is under construction today. So it is a man-made crisis which led to very severe natural or climatic crisis in sea. Vizhinjam Port is 18 kilometers away from Shankamukam. And it is a fact that since this construction had started, the waves have become more rougher, and due to the breakwater in the harbor, the waves does not have anywhere to go and they are continuously hitting the shore, which leads to erosion. So you can see the houses that are collapsed here. It just happened recently. So we must take proper measures to prevent this. We all know Kerala's population density is more concentrated in coastal areas.
Yes, yes.
So they are the ones who are need to be more care. They are the ones who need to be more protective, and they are the ones who need to be more preventive about this. So government must take proper measures to protect them from these calamities, and they can adopt proper campaigns to campaigns need to be adopted among to publish among the coastal people, and soft structures need to be adopted instead of these hard structures like sea walls and other fortifications. And I think that at least we can prevent this issue to an extent. So that's it. Over to you, Yasmin.
Thank you, Meenakshi. Thank you so much. Well, now that was our final story, and we know that the challenges of climate crisis are a threat to very existence of mankind. Yet the urgency to tackle it is lacking at times. As global citizens, it is our responsibility to work together for this common cause and to win this global race against disasters and to leave behind a tinder for coming generations. And on this note, let me invite Muhyiddin Mahi from Bangladesh to carry over the next session. Hello, Muhyiddin Mahi, how are you doing?
Hello, Yasmin, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
How are things in Bangladesh?
There are a lot of environmental issues, and we have selected 3 topics, and hopefully we'll do it better. And thank you.
Yeah, we are really looking forward to your stories that you and your reporters brought up. Over to you, Muhyiddin.
Thank you. Environmental pollution is debatably the most probable threat to humanity in the current era that is degrading the human living condition on Earth, resulted from industrial revolution in the 19th century. Nowadays, environmental disorder is more feared than nuclear explosions. With its overpowering control over nature, technological growth has brought about profound transformation in world's economics and lifestyles that have made environmental protection a vital issue on a global scale. However, we have selected 3 major topics that are more responsible for environmental disorder. The first one is hill cutting, which is being presented by Humaira Kobir. Now she is at Lalmai Hill, one of the most ancient hill in Bangladesh that is being precipitated day by day. Humaira, over to you.
Currently, indiscriminate hill cutting is considered as one of the major environmental restrictions in Bangladesh. Hill cutting problems are triggering deforestation and loss of biodiversity. Local level climate change, increasing water logging, landslides, soil erosion, and increase in chances of earthquake and decrease in intensity of rainfall. Lalmai Hills, a paradise of natural beauty, is losing its glory day by day. The hills are being destroyed, the calls of animals and the chirping of birds cease. The hill cutting is going on continuously, sometimes openly and sometimes stealingly. As land prices are low, housing companies are now eyeing Lalmai Pahar, more than 1,000 areas of land under the possession of about 50 families nearby this hill. You can see from where I am standing right now how the Lalmai Hills have been cut and people are settled in this area while simultaneously enlarging the road. Lalmai Hills has already turned to be a hillock on the plain land. The natural beauty and the green pageantry Lalmai Hills is on the verge of extinction. So as a result, along with environment restrictions, we are losing different rare trees, many animals, such as wildcat, fox, rabbit, and different types of birds. The direct effect of hill cutting is the removal of natural vegetation, including trees and grasses. This type of deforestation and hill cutting can change the microclimate condition. That's for it, and over to Mohit.
Thank you, Humayra. Another topic selected by my team is black smoke emitted from brick lane. The topic is being presented by Anjuman. She is at brick lane located at Comilla. Anjuman, please tell us about the brick lane smoke.
Yeah, pollution is the biggest. So sorry. Pollution is the biggest threat for our environment, and air pollution is one of that pollutants. One of the major contributors to air pollution is black smoke, which is emitted from brick kilns. Kilns releases over 1,072 million tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere in every year. During the dry season, when kilns are operational in Bangladesh, they contribute 30 to 50% of the particulate matters in the air. Here is this. Now I am at a brick kiln, which is located in Kotbari, Comilla. According to Brick Making and Kilns Installation Act of Bangladesh, it can't be set up in residential, reserved, commercial areas, cities and agricultural land. But here is seen that the locality and agricultural land is next to the kiln. In the production of brick, Bangladesh ranks fourth overall the world. There are more than 8,000 kilns across the country. Among them, 2,513 kilns don't have environmental clearance. As per law, no kilns can operate without environmental clearance. So these kilns are legally illegal. Now I hear from a local person actually which kind of problems they have faced.
Connectivity of bricks in today's modern world cannot be denied. But the environment, water, soil, and much needed care are being damaged due to making bricks in brick kilns. Is also destroying the balance of environment. It also obstructs the normal breathing of people. The number of government unauthorized brick kilns is increasing all over the country. Burning natural wood and coal as fuel, these brick kilns is also destroying the balance of environment, forestry, culture, and agriculture, and also it also causing the air pollution. Thank you.
So brick kilns damages the quality of air, and it causes many kinds of respiratory diseases like cancer, breathing problems, heart attack, etc. And these problems will appear in the workers and local communities also. And this is infants and pregnant women are the most of the sufferer of this fact. So that's it. Over to Mr. Mahi.
Thank you, Anjuman. Now I'm going to Irtiz, who is in front of Comilla University. She is covering a report on plastic issues. Irtiz, please go to your report.
I am now standing in a place at Salmanpur in Comilla where there is constant environmental pollution due to plastic waste. As a result, many problems were created. Millions of birds were killed by plastic every year, from birds to fish to other marine organisms. Nearly 700 species marine organisms, including endangered ones, are known to have been affected by plastic. There is no end to discussion about plastic polythene. Environment scientists are constantly expressing fear and concern about the harmful effects of plastic on public health and the environment. No one can disagree about pollution damage. Moreover, plastic is causing various disturbances in people's daily life. Plastic waste is blocking the drain system in major cities of the country. The problem of plastic waste is a major problem for us because most plastic is not recyclable and the vast majority does not biodegrade. According to the Trade Association Plastic Europe, worldwide plastic production grew from some 1.5 million metric tons about 1.7 million short tons per year in 1950. Between 1950 and 2050, an estimated 7,080 million tons of plastic were manufactured, and half of this was produced in the last 13 years alone. So now the question is, where has this plastic gone? 79% has accumulated in the natural environment. 12% has incinerated. Only 12% has been recycled. Apart from environmental pollution, people facing many problems due to plastic waste in this place. Over to Mohiddin Mahi.
Thank you, Urtiz. Dear audience, here you can see Bangladesh is not also free from environmental challenges. It is struggling with a number of more environmental issues. Hope the issue will be resolved with a global concern. Now, I am going to hand over the talk show to Roshi Arfasha, who is from Newcastle University of the United Kingdom.
There is a slight change in the program, and Newcastle will be on board with us in some time because, of course, there are certain issues that we're facing with the network. Other than that, this was a great report put together. I mean, it was a really nice way to know what was going on. Thank you so much for all that you did, and thank you for all your reporters, to your reporters for being here. Also, apart from this, I think, Global Pop-Up Newsroom is like a good way of telling and explaining stories from across the globe. Like we did ours, your reporters did a fantabulous job. And there are so many things that we got to know, right? Segment by segment, everyone in a separate area, different stories from different pockets, which actually don't always come out in the mainstream media. So I think going on ground and checking for yourself for what is happening is the best way to go about things. Other than this, I really hope that a lot of changes will be made for all the problems that we're reporting. I mean, we have exchange students in our college from Bangladesh, and we have heard how there are so many problems in India and Bangladesh that tie in together. So I think more than just being country specific or like one nation specific, it's time for all of us to join hands together as South Asia and come together to rise bigger and higher than our power, because like history has said it always and South Asia has proved it, we have the will. And I'm sure the time is not far where all of us will come together. Other than this, how was your experience of the show? Is there anything that you would want to tell our audience who is currently watching you? Can you hear me? Moyuddin?
Yes. Okay. So thank you. I think we can do better for the environmental issues, and if we all together do for better environment, and hopefully we can achieve something better.
Yes,
thank you, Jisoo.
definitely. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Now we will move on, and the next place that we're going to is the US. And so all the stories that we spoke about from South Asia, were like a certain kind, because this entire region faces very distinct yet similar problems. Our people are facing similar problems, and all of these climate crisis issues, they are actually panning out at a very similar rate in the region. Even though it's always said that whatever is being caused right now is not really an indication of the development happening at the moment. These are all parts and parcels which have come because of the development that has happened yesteryears ago. But again, now that we have realized that there are problems, I'm sure that we can join hands and make things much better, and better late than never. If this report is eye-opening, and if even some of the people from the audience watching us can change little things that they do in everyday life, I think we can make a huge impact. Some of the things that we really can do is, things like carpooling. Most of us who go to work or universities, if we use public transport, or if we actually just sit back behind a friend and ride with them, I think it can be a great change. Other than this, electronic vehicles, over vehicles who actually use so much fuel on a daily basis. These are so many things that we can do, which are like small initiatives. Of course, they will take time. And we also spoke about sustainable living, right? And sustainable living is, of course, there are so many questions about how much cost does one have to bear, because sustainable products, because of the fact that they're raw products, raw material is costlier than commercialized products, of course. But that is what we need to reverse. We need to go back in time and get it from how we used to do it, and then make everything work in synergy with each other. We can't exist if the environment doesn't. And that's sacrosanct, I think. um, in fact, other changes like saving our glaciers, water bodies, so many things that we actually got out of all of these reports. Since the problems were so distinct, it's good that we covered everything, but it also makes us realize how our urbanization, our developmental programs have inflicted a problem. We've actually inflicted a war upon everything. Malvika Jaydeep, one of our viewers, has asked, what about sustainable fashion? Can people from all classes access it? Okay, of course. Since I'm no expert, I will give you my 2 cents on what I think about sustainable fashion. Uh, there's this entire concept of growing thrift stores on Instagram and other social media portals. I think it's a beautiful way of getting clothes which are not used but pre-loved. If that is how we start seeing fashion, I think the rotation of fashion amongst people will be much better. Other than this, again, sustainable fashion, especially in fast fashion brands like H&M or others, it seems very ironical, first of all. But if these brands are putting in some effort, considering they're also one of the biggest selling brands across the world, my only problem remains is that they're sold at such high costs, and of course it's not affordable for everyone. Like I said, commercialized products are much more cheaper, and on the ground level, people are not thinking about environment as much as they're thinking about what big hole these sustainable products might burn in their tiny pockets. Of course, that's a problem that remains. But nonetheless, Malvika, I'm sure we're looking at a future where we can make this a resource which is like available for everyone. If you have just joined us, we are the Global Pop-Up Newsroom from the Asian College of Journalism, Chennai, and we are talking about the climate crisis because, as pointed out by the United Nations, it is the biggest crisis that we're facing right now. And the impact of the crisis is growing day by day. The commercialization, the industrialization has increased so much. And sitting in our locked up rooms, most of us don't realize, but there are real people, animals, and there's ecology out there that's actually getting imbalanced. People are being resettled with literally nowhere to go because of all the developmental programs that we are causing for our comfort. But yes, Malvika, I hope I answered your question in whatever capacity I could. Also, I'm a huge fan of thrift stores. If any one of our viewers are also thrift shoppers, kindly let us know in the comment section. I think that'll be a good way to start to encourage the rest of the viewers to actually, if not buy, but just have a look at thrift stores, right? So we will do that. Also, I have one anecdote to add now that I'm thinking about it. There are so many NGOs and there are also so many college bodies that work on gathering, linen, because linen is, from what I read in one of the news reports, it's one of the largest pollutants in the world. And I'm not joking about it, in the world. So if there is so much fabric waste that's going, there are so many people who work on the lower levels, like in blue collar jobs or in informal sectors, where they collect these fabrics and scraps and make certain things out of them. For example, in my own room, I have mats, foot mats, which are made of old t-shirts and old pieces of denims which have been discarded. So I think that is one good way to go about it, to reuse. And all of us know about the 3 R's. We've learned about it in school, but I think it's high time now that we put it to use. Other than this, if anyone has any other questions, I, with whatever little expertise I have, I'm sitting here to answer any of those for you. I think we don't have any questions as of now, so we will move on. Moving on, we have US, which is one of the most developed, like America is seen as one of the most developed countries, right? It becomes like a bar for a lot of other countries. But considering that they're so developed, it's very essential to know what is the state of the environment. What is it that this development is trading? And how are they trading the environment? It's very, very essential to see. And also to know the response of what the American authorities have towards these problems. So we will go to the California State University, Fresno in the US, and they will row the show ahead.
State University, Fresno. I'm Sydney Morgan. It's currently 6:30 in the morning in California. The university I represent is located in Fresno, which is just about the center of California. We are known as the food basket of the world as we produce 1/4 of the food in the United States. There are roughly 250 crops grown in the Central Valley, and 20% of all jobs here in the Fresno area are in agriculture. As of 2021, our ag production is worth $8 billion. Since Fresno makes up such a big part of the nation's agriculture, this also affects climate as pollution is a result of farm and production. The American Lungs Association recently ranked the San Joaquin Valley, where Fresno is located, as having the worst air quality in the United States. Miranda Adams shows us why.
The sky may look blue and beautiful, but it's obscuring one key feature.
Now I'm looking at the Sierra Nevada and really can't see much.
That's not unusual for Fresno, which sits at the crossroads of 2 major freeways and sees emissions from factories, cars, and planes on the daily. While urban life definitely contributes to the valley's air pollution, agriculture also plays a major role. Introducing chemicals in the form of pesticides, stirring up dust from tilling the soil, and contributing to smog via the excess of nitrogen-based fertilizers. Cows are an even greater contributor, their gas alone accounting for 10% of greenhouse gas emissions worldwide. The topography of the valley also has a lot to do with it. The valley is surrounded by mountains on all sides, leaving a bowl-like recession that traps the dirty air. This means wildfire smoke from out of the area likes to settle here.
I was here during the creek fire too, and the creek fire was pretty bad. So I had ash on my car for that.
While the average Joe may not be able to move mountains, one can still take steps to help reduce regional air pollution.
Literally, walking instead of driving is one simple way to improve air quality.
Opting for the non-aerosol versions of your favorite brands is also a great option. Or you could skip the meat 1 day a week. These small changes can help keep you breathing clearly, something that doesn't always come so naturally in the valley.
I've been outside of the valley to experience, what people would consider cleaner air. And then, it's that time of coming back and returning where you go, oh, wow, I'm coughing, I'm congested, why can't I breathe? Oh, that's right, air quality.
In Fresno, Miranda Adams, Fresno State Focus.
Despite not always being able to see air pollution, the effects of it include possible asthma due to exposure, along with lung disease, heart disease, and even cancer. Typically, in warmer seasons, it is recommended and encouraged to try and limit outdoor activity when air quality is poor. Scientists say tree planting is one way to fight the climate crisis. And here in California, the best time to plant trees is in the fall. Fresno State students and other volunteers took advantage of the seasonal conditions to help Tree Fresno plant over 70 crepe myrtle trees.
You can find full-grown examples on campus outside the Wahlberg Recital Hall. Although crepe myrtles come in a variety of colors, the ones just planted will have white blossoms. And while they may not be native to the valley, they are drought tolerant, making them an excellent fit.
The Union of Concerned Scientists predicted that by 2030, the Central Valley was going to experience a full month of extreme heat. However, it started sooner than expected. Last year, in 2021, Fresno experienced 36 consecutive days of 104 degree Fahrenheit, 40 degrees Celsius, or hotter temperatures. The effects of this heat include the following: more expensive air bills, meaning air conditioning, heat stroke for those working outside, a need for more water, higher chance of wildfire breakouts, higher water runoff, which causes floods, and lower snowpack levels, which leads to water shortages, just to name a few. The monarch butterflies have made a name for themselves here in California and the United States overall. One reason is their long migration when they travel from the eastern side of the nation to the west, which means crossing over different weather and topographies. Their numbers are diminishing as a result of the climate crisis.
I am live in Pismo Beach at their Monarch Butterfly Grove, and I'm here to talk about California's butterfly effect. You see, the number of monarch butterfly sightings has decreased by 99%, and that is recorded through the 1980s to early 2000 sightings, which is roughly in the millions, to the last 3 years between 2017 to 2020, where they only recorded 2,000 to 3,000 sightings each year. And they believe that for reasons like deforestation, climate change, global warming, and pesticides, along with housing projects, which are going up everywhere, that the numbers of them have lowered. And the significance of them is their journey, their migration, and that is a 3,000-mile long route. They come from Canada to anywhere near the eastern side of the states over to the west coast in the winter. And they do so to get away from the colder weather conditions. And the significance of this journey is that it has brought the stigma that they, if seen, resemble a new beginning that's about to start, or a new significant change that can happen in someone's life, along with the fact that their 3,000-mile journey also gives them the symbolism of strength and endurance. And for that, they have become the world favorite butterfly and the most studied butterfly. And Xerces Society, which is specifically they're focusing on monarchs this year, and California have come together to create a sort of fund and program that helps build more places like this with eucalyptus trees and milkweeds that are desirable for monarchs to come to. And as a result, the number has increased by 100,000 monarch sightings and counting.
We'll be posting on social media throughout the day at #ClimateCrisisPopUp for Climate Crisis and Pop-Up Newsroom. I'm Sydney Morgan. That's all from Fresno State. We'll toss it back to you. Newsroom. I'm Sydney Morgan. That's all from Fresno State. We'll toss it back to you.
Factories, cars, and planes.
That was in fact very interesting, especially the entire report about butterflies. I think that was quite new. Yes. So moving on, I have this one thing to add. We as media practitioners or students of media, I think it's very, very important for us to study such issues and report on them, because it's been UNESCO showed this entire census where they spoke about how media can actually make so much difference. Media can narrate stories more easily because common people will not be interested and might not be in a position where they can understand scientific data, and media can enhance it, make it so much easier and digestible for common people. So I think we should stay at it and keep working, keep doing our bit towards the environment. Anyway, not taking much of your time and moving on. Now we will go to Northeast England, where we're going all the way to Newcastle University in the United Kingdom. And we will be talking to them to understand what is it that's so different about the climatic issues there. Of course, we as an entire globe, apart from our boundaries, are suffering from issues like these, but these issues are very different from continent to continent, country to country. So covering all this distance, we will try to understand what is it that they are facing. Other than this, like I repeated before this, I will reiterate that media practitioners can make not a huge difference on ground maybe, but we can make a lot of difference by making people more aware. So that's something that we need to continue doing. And yes, we will now shift to Newcastle, where we have Varsha and Rosie, who will be anchoring the show and taking it ahead. Hi Varsha, hi Rosie.
Hello, good morning, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? It's actually evening here. It's 4 o'clock in the evening. What time is it there?
It's 10:30 in the morning, so not too bad.
Oh my God. Right. I mean, yeah, not too bad, of course. But like, this makes me realize how Global Pop-Up Newsroom can transcend whatever boundaries that there might be, physical boundaries, time, and everything else in between. Anyway, we're very, very excited to see what you've got for us. And I know that you have a good line of reporters waiting with such great stories, and we can't wait to explore each one of them. So take it ahead.
It's lovely to be here today, bringing awareness to the climate crisis from Newcastle to the world. I'm Varsha Jayaprasad.
And I'm Rosie Edwards. And coming up this morning from Newcastle University reporting team, we have how apple trees' flowering cycle is under threat from climate change and how a meat-based diet affects the planet.
Making a show of plastic waste from one of the greatest universities from the Northeast, and a vital role on how rivers play into our ecosystem.
So let's start with our live reporter, Darcy Rawlings, who is out in Newcastle talking about sustainable fashion. Good morning, Darcy.
Morning, Rosie and Varsha. How are you both doing today?
We're good, thank you. How are you?
Excellent, I'm great. I'm here this morning with Annalise Moran, a local student here at Newcastle University, and we're going to be talking about how to be sustainable and how to be a conscious consumer. Annalise, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Annalise, a local Newcastle student, and I'm very conscious about shopping in charity shops and donating my old clothes to charity shops in order to decrease my carbon footprint.
That's fantastic. So is that what motivates you as a consumer? Do you want to make a difference on the planet?
Yeah, any little way I can, even if that's just like not shopping in fast fashion shops, making sure that I shop at charity shops, carbon sales, vintage sales, things like that.
That's fantastic. It's really great that you care so much about the environment. So the Christmas season's coming up. How do you find being a conscious consumer around this time of year? There's a lot of marketing campaigns going on and there's a lot of noise. So do you think it's more difficult to shop consciously around Christmas time?
I definitely think it could be harder with all like the hustle and bustle, and it's just 10 times easier to go into a shop on the high street and buy something. But then it's really nice to put like thought into the gifts and buy from somewhere that you're being conscious about it.
So you're talking about buying gifts there. So does that mean that you buy Christmas gifts secondhand for your friends and family?
Yeah, a lot more gifts that I buy for my family are secondhand or from local businesses.
That's great. So I think a lot of people would be worried about buying secondhand gifts over Christmas time, just depending on how people receive them. How do your friends and family take getting secondhand gifts for Christmas?
I think they appreciate them a lot more because a lot more thoughts went into them. And then also kind of helps them be a bit more conscious about the environment.
So does that mean that you explain to your family why the gifts are secondhand?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that means you're getting to spread a bit of awareness there as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I definitely think my family are more aware now of everything going on than they were before.
Oh, that's great. So thanks so much for chatting to us today, Annalie. So really appreciate that. So hopefully, after having a little chat with Annalise, everyone can try and be a bit more conscious with the way they're consuming gifts and buying gifts this Christmas. And thanks so much. Back to Rosie and Varsha.
Thank you, Darcy. This has highlighted some dilemmas and solutions.
Now we have a report about how the climate crisis is affecting apple trees in Newcastle.
Our international reporting team went down to the climate change fair to discuss some issues caused by the climate crisis.
This highlights how the tree's natural cycle has been seen to be affected.
And I found apple blossom on one of our trees. Now, apples should not be producing blossom in November. They should be producing it in April. So something's going wrong here. The tree's got the signal that it is going to flower. So it's obviously been far too warm. So instead of getting the cold period, so the tree goes dormant and then it grows in the spring, it's decided to blossom now. So it's very bad for the tree because it will weaken the tree. So next spring it may have some more blossom, but not very much. So this is the sort of thing that will happen. The more our climate warms, everything gets out of sync. Well, there's not really much we can do. Okay. I mean, we can't change. One little orchard, we can't change the climate. As collectively as the world, we have to try and stop emitting so much carbon dioxide, which is warming up the planet. It's a very big thing to do, but you can do little things on local level, but it's hard to influence the bigger picture. Well, I'm using my car less. I travel by train whenever I can, so I try not to use the car. We've also changed our heating system, so we're trying to use less gas and more electric because we're signed up to a green electricity supplier. That helps, and we have cut down on our gas usage a lot. We recycle where we can. So it's all little things, but So it's all little things, but
Wow, so that really shows the climate affecting the trees and how the apples are blossoming now.
Thanks to our reporters Yu Peng Wong, Pesh Xiao Wong, Yasal Tonin, Tishun Lu, Hao Fang Du, and Ding Zhe.
Next, we have a report from Yihan Ding and Jianing Wong about reducing your carbon footprint and changing your diet.
Yes, this is interesting, particularly as meat is a huge contributing factor to climate change. I think we're just having
some technical issues.
Yeah. So this video is about how meat affects your diet. And as meat is a huge contributing factor to climate change, I think it's particularly important to highlight this factor and try and reduce it.
It's also necessary to see how much consumption happens within the world and how mass-produced meat and mass-produced poultry are harmful for the planet.
Yeah, I feel as though, especially with red meat can be a highly contributing factor, a lot with it producing greenhouse gases and the transmission by transport. So I think this will be a really interesting piece to look at.
It will. And unfortunately, the dairy industry and the meat industry has gotten so large and has become very populous because there's a very large consumption of meat and milk, and animal milk essentially.
Yeah.
Therefore, it causes a very big portion of wastage for the planet as well.
It's interesting to see as well how people are now switching to plant-based milks as well as not just me.
It is more accessible, and you can make it at home as well, as far as I've heard. We have a question from...
How would you negotiate the consumption of meat as an integral part of many cultures? That's a good question.
That is. So there's been a lot of rise in individuals incorporating plant-based diet in their cultural meals. Especially, it's grown a lot on social media as well, and trying to introduce elements like coconut milk and almond milk in substituting it for dairy and cream products and so on forth. And there's still a lot of research and a lot of innovation that needs to be done, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's quite difficult as well to like make that change. So even like small steps, like reducing it to even like 3 times eating meat a week rather than all 7 days. Like, I think even just making small steps is a huge difference.
It is, because the final outcome is to reduce consumption, not stop consumption completely.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel as this video will be interesting, and I believe that there's a vox pop involved as well.
Yeah, that would be really interesting to see.
And we've got another, I believe an essential point will be
reduction and not elimination.
Exactly, yeah. Like, you don't need to eliminate it completely, because that is a very difficult thing to do. But reduction can be a huge help in combating the climate crisis.
Yeah, definitely. So we are aware that you're waiting, folks, and soon enough the video will be up.
Yeah, so we're, as well as this, we're also going to see about fast fashion, how fast fashion's gonna, like, how to reduce your fast fashion in order to
rivers to dry up or flood.
Now we
well, I mean, that really depends on circumstances. I would come back to the term I used earlier, being about the water balance, because if you're flooding or if you have drought, it means that there is a problem with the water balance in your catchment. And again, I would never look at a river in isolation. It comes back to the catchment systems engineering. You know, you're trying to look at the whole system, and you're understanding, you know, how much water is there, how much water is stored in the soil, how much water is in the groundwater, where is your water table, is it up, is it down? You know, if it's down, maybe you get a drought. If it's up, maybe you get a flood. So the river is always only a small part of the story. It's actually the visible bit where you see the water running. Yeah. Of course, in a storm, you see the water running over the land as well, but it can help you to understand the water balance, because you can understand things from how much water is in the river and so on, but it's only ever going to be part of the story.
Can you tell us about recent changes in the rivers you studied due to climate change?
Well, yeah, I mean, we have had looked quite a bit at the Oostburn, which is one of the tributaries of the Tyne River. That's of particular interest in that it goes past here, where we are now, but it also it goes through from upstream to the around Newcastle Airport, all the way through the city. Jesmond is part of the Oostburn, and then it goes underground and it goes under where I live, and then it eventually goes out to the Tyne. So that's an interesting study. So that's one that I'm quite interested in, because obviously it impacts on my immediate surroundings. But I've also looked at situations in other countries. So, for example, I did some work some years ago in Serbia and Macedonia, and there, I mean, really a different set of problems. I mean, in particular, problems with abstraction, where people were building homes when there's no infrastructure, so they're abstracting water illegally, which means that you don't have the controls over it, and it can cause groundwater depletion, which ultimately causes problems. Personally, I believe everybody should have access to water in the way that we do, and I genuinely believe that that's possible. I also believe that regardless of climate change, that's still possible, but we have to have the will, we have to be willing, and we have to act if we actually want people to have the access to the quality water that they should have. That means being proactive. It means changing things. And it means changing things now, but it means changing things in the future as well.
Wow, that was insightful, particularly with Dr. Casper Hewitt talking about the local Ousburn River.
Yes, and about the other rivers around the world.
Yes, the next report is from Anna Nix, Jinggyun Hao and Marina Sinder, and is about reducing plastic waste.
Yes, and they visited an exhibition on plastic waste and had the opportunity to talk to a city council member and how plastic waste relates to climate change.
We are now going to go inside and talk to people who can tell us more. We are here to talk with Rebecca Wilson, a member of the Newcastle City Council, about the connection between plastic waste and climate change. So my first question is, how does the plastic waste contribute to the climate change?
So plastic's made from oil. Oil is a finite resource. It's running out. If we don't recycle all of the plastic we have, we will not have enough resources to have the lifestyle we can have. And obviously we know fossil fuels and oil's contribution towards climate change. So recycling's one of the easiest things you can do for your carbon footprint. I mean, it's a very small thing, but still people aren't quite doing it correctly. So, you know, just even recycling that little bit more is so important locally, but also globally as well.
Okay, thank you. And how can everyone contribute to the recycling process? Do you have any particular suggestions?
Yeah, so, I mean, we would say if in doubt, leave it out. I mean, it's really important that we only get the right stuff in the right bin. We have blue bins in Newcastle for recycling. You know, you can recycle plastic bottles, tubs, pots and trays, but we don't take food waste. We don't take takeaway wrappers full of food. You know, just try and have that split second. Can I put it in or not? And keeping the right stuff in there really helps us. What happens is when it goes for recycling, if it's good quality, that can be recycled really easily. But if it's contaminated with food waste or the wrong items, that really impacts the process. It also costs the council more money because we have to separate it again, and when we separate it we have to put it into another lorry and that gets sent somewhere else, so there's more pollution, there's more mileage there. So really making that decision at home correctly is the best thing you can do for the recycling process.
All right, I will. Thank you. And also my last question, we have seen like a lot of children here. How do you think that this exhibition can educate them?
It's fabulous to see so many being inspired to recycle. We go into schools and do assemblies, but for them to start seeing it everywhere and becoming more and more normalised, I think that's just going to, you know, help them be better recyclers from young children all the way up to adults. And then, you know, once you've learned how to recycle, hopefully they'll do it for their whole lives. So I think it's really great to bring this to children and to make it fun as well. You know, and you've got lots of activities here today, and I think that all helps.
Thank you for your time. Hello, we are here with Katarina and we're going to ask her about recycling of plastic products. You told us about different labels on plastic products. Could you tell us what the labels mean and how they affect how the plastic gets recycled?
So in a majority of cases, if not in all cases, labels are actually a problem because typically they're made from a different material to the body of the plastic product that they are on, which means that they need to be separated, so they're extra costly to separate. And once they are separated, because different labels are made from different materials, they form a waste stream that we can't efficiently recycle. So they either end up in a landfill or they're incinerated, maybe with energy recovery or without, but either way we are losing valuable resources, material, while that would mean producing carbon dioxide as well.
Okay, thank you. And you also told us that not all plastic products can be recycled. So what needs to be done to change that?
Yeah, so currently even with plastics coming from the family of thermoplastics that can be melted and reshaped and efficiently recycled, even that one we are not managing well. And the reason we are not managing well is because same type of products are made from many different plastics. If we as a society could agree on what are we using and try to minimize use of different types of plastics, at least in packaging, we could actually more efficiently separate them once they're in waste, and we could nicely recycle each of those streams. So this is all for thermoplastics. Yeah.
All right, thank you for your time. How do you think this exhibition could change people's attitude towards recycling?
I think educating people and making people more aware of it will definitely help change people's attitudes. Like the stall I have there, a lot of people didn't know things weren't recyclable when they do say recyclable, so hopefully it will create a more favourable attitude towards recycling, hopefully.
Well, I think there's some really good examples here today of the damage plastic pollution can do and why we need to recycle and try and minimise the amount of plastic we leave in the environment.
Well, I believe that by visiting these exhibitions, they are becoming aware of how many plastic are thrown away every year, and also what actions can be done to reduce this amount of plastic, like proper recycling and reducing amount of plastic you use and other activities.
Actually, it's a really good question, because when we are talking with the parents and the kids in here, they are quite shocked. United Kingdom is the second one who produced the most plastic waste per person in a year. So I hope this event can help the kids and the parents increase awareness of recycling and also the plastic waste, how important is it to protect our earth.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, that insight into the importance of recycling, especially from that local council member, was very interesting.
Yes, it really puts things into perspective about how our small habits can have such a huge impact. Following on from this, we have a report now about the importance of planting trees. Thanks to our reporters, Yupeng Wong, Peshao Wong, Yahao Tong, Tishong Liu, Haofeng Du, and Ding Zhe.
A greater diversity of trees and more hedgerows to address three things. One of them was to give us more future-proofing of disease resilience. We wanted a greater diversity of trees for better ecosystems. And thirdly, to address climate change. One of the key drivers of this is to have better carbon capture in our countryside, especially as in the local area many hedgerows have been lost over the recent decades. So we would like to put hedgerows back in, as they are good carbon capture, wildlife corridors, and they help with air purity. Right, when we start planting trees, we're only planting saplings, very small, because they establish their root systems first as young trees, and they fare better than pot-grown trees which are much older. This means that as they go stronger, they absorb and have better carbon capture as they get older. We are aware that a greater diversity of trees increases the carbon capture, so having many more broadleaf species is important because they can absorb carbon and they also help the environment with better air quality through the oxygen they produce. I have made a big commitment about my holidays. I will no longer fly. So I am going to Switzerland on holiday next year, but I am going by rail and by train, all the way there and all the way back. And by train, all the way there and all the way back.
Wow, it's shocking how many hedgerows are lost due to the climate crisis.
And a personal declaration that one holidaymaker will never fly again. Now we have a report about the importance of second-hand fashion. In this, we see particularly how charity shops help to combat fast fashion and hear from people using charity shops.
In the UK, second-hand fashion is becoming increasingly popular each year.
Charity shops are arguably the biggest generators of second-hand fashion, with around 11,200 stores in the UK. Cancer Research, British Heart Foundation and Oxfam are only a handful of examples. The concept behind a charity shop is that the public donates any clothes, books or knickknacks they no longer use, and then customers buy these pre-loved items at a fraction of the cost they would if they were brand new.
This is the Salvation Army trading charity shop. It's been in the town for a lot of years. It's mainly used by students. Students always come in every year, a different set of students. We sell pre-loved clothing, bric-a-brac, shoes, children's clothes, and we keep the prices low so everyone has a chance to have something new, even though it's pre-loved. We do get a lot of new goods as well, and we are finding that more and more people are using charity shops now since the pandemic.
Charity shops are a great way to help combat the climate crisis, as fast fashion is one of the driving factors in climate change. This is because mass production of clothes uses a lot of resources and materials that produce greenhouse gases. Also, the waste from fast fashion is extortionate, with hundreds of tons of clothing being dumped each day. By recycling clothes through charity shops, this defeats this problem and still allows people to buy new clothes for their wardrobes. We spoke to some customers about why they use charity shops.
To find good bargains, sometimes you find nice brands that you pay a lot of money for otherwise. So you never know what you're going to find, so it's good to just have a look through and see what's in there today.
And the second question is, do you think buying the second clothing in the second-hand shop is relative to the protecting the environmental? Why?
For me, not really. I don't think I buy a lot of new clothes, but I know some people buy clothes every season, so it's good if they can avoid doing that and buying it. So for some people, it helps them, to not be buying new stuff every year, every season, and yeah, that's good.
I really enjoy shopping at charity stores, and actually recently I bought a coat and a shirt and some dress in charity store. I haven't seen a physical store, but there are many online second-hand platforms in China, as there are many donation boxes in communities and universities.
The profits from charity shops are mainly given to the charity, meaning that these shops not only help in tackling the climate crisis, because there is no fast fashion involved, but you are also helping charities. Around the world, not every country has charity shops. However, recycling your clothes by exchanging with friends or swapping with family members are great ways to help combat fast fashion. If you do have access to charity shops and haven't yet been, why not give it a go and join the fight to stop climate change now?
Buying second-hand clothes are certainly environmentally friendly, but I think more people need to have the awareness to do that, especially like a country in China, as the population is so large, which means charity shops can save many waste. And what's more, buying things at charity store is a good way for students to save money. So I think that's really a good idea.
Wow, that's fascinating. Not how every country has charity shops.
Yeah, so we've got a question coming in. Is second-hand fashion accessible to the majority of people in the UK? I think it is. With a lot of charity shops, like the video said, there's over 11,000 stores.
Yeah.
So you can find in most cities and towns that there are at least one charity shop.
Along with thrift stores getting a lot of popularity.
Yeah, that is true. And even just swapping clothes, like with family members. So I think in the UK, second-hand fashion is accessible. But around the world, as mentioned, charity stores aren't really as much of a thing. So it might be a bit more difficult. But again, just exchanging clothes and trying to combat fast fashion, I think, is the way forward.
We've also got some interesting questions up in the comments, and it's really wonderful to see that these reports are generating so many questions, although this is more general and I don't think we have the expertise to answer those. But moving on, just to give a thanks to the reporters for the previous report. So thanks to Wang Yuxian, Liu Jingzi, Liang Xiangfu, Liang Xifangjun, Li Ruxin, and Darcy Rawlings, if you heard her.
And you also heard me as well in that report. Our next report highlights how a local event about climate change spreads important awareness. Let's take a look.
Not just councillors, but people from the school, from local families, to really come together, not just to raise the awareness of climate change, because I think we are aware of it, but to try and see how we can tackle it from a local level, grassroots level. So there's all sorts of organisations we've invited. So we've had citizens' advice, we've had tree planting, we've had there's Humshoff Net Zero. So there's different ways that we can look at. Not just even myself as a parish councillor. We've all declared climate an emergency, which is great. But what are we going to do about it? How are we going to affect that change? Well, it's in different ways. I mean, there's big international issues that I think global leaders are looking at, and we all hope, and despite the international complexities of what's going on, I think we're all looking for solutions there. But I think what it comes to us is, what can we do at a local level? Because I'm sure there's all sorts of national commitments and international commitments, but what can we do here? One of the things I was speaking about was to one of the display holders was from Citizens' Advice, and she was talking about how you could use a smart meter to try and reduce your energy usage. You could go around your home and find out how you could use less energy. There's also heat pumps. So if you're trying to reduce the amount of oil or gas you use, heat pumps are a good way of trying to have sustainable local energy. So I think trying to find local solutions to what is an national problem will go some way. It's not the absolute solution, but I think it's certainly something that we can do to try and push towards living more sustainably. Yes. So I think simply just trying to, if you start at home by looking at what energy you use and trying to reduce your amount of energy. I mean, so simply from studying from home or working from home, I won't have the whole house and the heating on and everything wearing. I'll just have an electric heater in my room. Yes, it will save me money, and it will also reduce my energy costs and the amount of energy I use. And if I as an individual do that, and I as a parish councillor promote similar initiatives of reducing energy, I can encourage more people to get on board. I think what I'm trying to do at the moment is I've requested from Northumberland County Council about if they could roll out an electric charger, public charging point in our local village. At the moment, they are looking at rolling out these electric chargers. Ovington, my village, is not included at the moment, but I continually push to hopefully have an electric charger for cars in my village. Yes, included at the moment, but I continually push to hopefully have an electric charger for cars.
Wow, so that video really showed how recognition and talking about climate crisis can help spread the news and why we need to join the effort in combating it.
Finally, we're going to go out to the streets of Newcastle and see what the people have to say about carbon footprint generated from travel and tourism.
So, in what ways can we reduce our carbon footprint in our diet when faced with climate change? Let's take a look at some points of Newcastle people.
I don't think I will completely go off, so I may not become a complete vegan.
We can do it because the climate change, but there's a cultural factor or like social factor that affects you.
Yeah. So one of the best ways to kind of address your personal carbon footprint is to go vegan. At the moment, no. So we've written letters, we've written petitions, and we've protested right outside Parliament. We've protested outside Downing Street. We protested at distribution centres where they take dairy, for example, as a symbolic protest against the dairy industry.
I mean, veganism is it's a way of life. It's not just about food, but it benefits you as a person, both spiritually and your carbon footprint So it helps the environment, but it also helps the animals. And we're here for the animals because we know intensive farming is incredibly cruel. And we know what the animals go through when they are artificially impregnated, bred, and then raised and slaughtered, and then all the and then processed for the table.
It requires a lot more resources to produce animal products compared to producing plants. And part of these resources are fossil fuel resources. Then a lot of the food does not go into human beings, it goes into farm animals who use a large amount of this food not to create things that we human beings eat. And the production of these herbicides and pesticides, as well as the production of artificial fertilizers, and in particular the production of artificial fertilizers, uses a large amount of fossil fuels. There's also emissions associated with animal manure and with the gases that cows emit also through the mouth, right? Methane. Methane is a powerful greenhouse gas that is released when cows eat grass and start digesting the grass. So they convert some of that grass into methane, which goes up into the atmosphere and which is detrimental to the environment. But it's not just climate change, it's also it affects everything. The quality of the water. Lots of rivers in the UK are polluted. Why are they polluted? For a very large part also through the fact that we keep so many farm animals. Manure is washed off the land, ends up in the rivers and leads to all sorts of problems. For example, phosphates are washed off into the river, and phosphate is a very precious resource. So we need to keep hold of the phosphate that we've got on the land rather than allow it to wash off. And it's probably more environmentally friendly to get water from the tap than to get it in the supermarket in a carton that contains water that also contains some soya as well as some other nutrients, etc. So it all depends on what you consume. Most likely because many people are becoming vegans not just because they care about non-human animals, but also because they care about the amount of resources that we consume, and they think we should use less resources, even if it might not directly impact on non-human animals. Real costs of food, because the companies that produce that food will be forced to pay heavy taxes for the pollution that they cause, or would be forced to clean up the pollution themselves, then a lot of products that people now eat will become a lot less fashionable because they would no longer be affordable.
So yeah, that was the Vox Pop video that we didn't see earlier, because we're having a few technical difficulties with the carbon footprint video.
Yeah, but we unfortunately won't be able to screen the video about travel and carbon footprint, but we'll give you a brief of what it was. So basically it was a Vox Pop where people went out into the streets. Our reporters went out into the streets and we talked to people in Northumberland Street and in front of City Council, and we talked to them about what they understand about carbon footprint and how travel and tourism accounts for around 8% of carbon footprint in the entire world. Yeah. So we asked people how exactly they were planning on combating it and how exactly they're going to change it.
Yeah, I think carbon footprint is a huge factor in climate change, and so recognising that and talking about it is important.
It is very necessary because as we live on this planet, we don't really realise how much we are contributing to the carbon footprint. And if we're not aware of it, one day we won't have a planet anymore.
Well, that is all from us here at Newcastle University. So goodbye from me, Rosie Edwards.
And me, Basha Jayaprasad. And we hope you enjoy the reports and now have clearer insights about the climate crisis.
Now we are going to hand over to the team in Africa to see how the climate crisis has been prevalent over there. Hi, Smriti.
Hi, Varsha. Hi, Varsha and Rosie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm
great.
I'm good, yeah. That was a fantabulous reports from your side. I hope the audience have a good takeaway from this.
Yes, well, we're looking forward to seeing what Africa has to say as well.
Yeah.
See
Hope to
you.
see you all soon.
Yes, let's see soon.
Yeah. So now let's get into the climatic crisis in Africa. So increasing temperature and sea levels, changing precipitation patterns, and more extreme weather are threatening human health and safety, food and water security, and socio-economic development in Africa. Climate change is having a growing impact on African continent, hitting the most vulnerable hardest, contributing to food insecurity, population displacement, and stress on water resources. In months, we have seen devastating floods and invasion of desert locusts. So first, we have Maureen to give a general view on the African climatic crisis here. Maureen is an independent journalist from Kenya, currently residing in Cyprus. She's here to give us a general view on African climatic crisis. Hi, Maureen.
Hi, Smriti. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
Great.
Yeah.
I'm doing great.
Okay, Maureen. So let's get into the climatic crisis that's affecting Africa. So firstly, let me just ask to you that why should the Africans care about the climatic crisis?
Well, that's a very good question because Africans, as it is known, they are the least continent that is contributing to global warming. According to the UN, it's about 3% of the contribution to the global warming. And some people might feel that then if you're not contributing much, why should we care? Because we are not putting a lot of pressure to the environment, you see. But as much as the African continent is not contributing much, it's in fact one of the continents that is suffering much from global warming and the climate crisis. So one of the reasons why they should care is because we are suffering. Africa as a continent is suffering. As we look at what is happening currently, droughts, there are so many droughts happening across Africa and people are dying because of lack of food and water. And what on top of that is what is more funny is the fact that there is drought and also there is floods. At some point, there's a lot of flooding, and in some parts of Africa, people are not able to plant anything because when the floods come, they sweep away everything across the fields, and also pastoralists in some parts of Africa are suffering a lot, and we'll get to hear some people who have visited the fields where the pastoralists are living and the challenges they are facing. Additionally, we see the increase of temperatures is also bringing about an increase of mosquitoes, for example, and that means then malaria also goes up and other diseases goes up because of the climatic conditions that support the growing mosquitoes. Other than that, we see also the effect on electricity and energy because now then there's lots of droughts and most African countries use hydropower. It means then there's not enough electricity to support the citizens and the businesses, and some countries have had to endure cuttage of electricity once in a while, sometimes even more than a week continuously. And this is affecting business, of course, and the health sector also, because it relies on energy for them to thrive. These are some of the reasons I would say are some of the things the reasons why Africans should care about climatic crisis.
Yeah, definitely. So Maureen, how did the COVID-19 affect the climatic crisis? Or let me just put forward to you, like, how did the COVID-19 pandemic, we know it just hit all over the world really badly. So how did this pandemic put aside to address the climate crisis in Africa?
The first thing that I would say, of course, we know everybody was affected by the pandemic. Yeah. And the fact that it was cutting across the world. One of the things that we notice is the growth of the GDP. So by that, by being an epidemic across the world, GDP was reduced in Africa, of course, across the world. And some money, for example, that was set aside to cater for climatic solutions or remedies were then changed or channeled to fighting the pandemic. So for that reason, then it means people are not able to address the climatic goals that they had set aside. And then they started looking at how they can overcome the crisis itself. Yeah. Another reason that was problematic is the countries normally meet. Of course, countries normally meet to discuss how they can handle climatic problems in Africa or, of course, across the world. Because of these reasons, countries were not able to meet, or leaders were not able to meet and discuss this. And also this contributed to the decline of handling or meeting the targets that were set aside to happen during that period then when there was the pandemic.
Yeah. So is there any hope for Africans?
There is hope for Africa. Yes, there is hope for Africa, because people now know that, of course, the global warming is happening across the world, and people are looking for remedies that they can use to solve these problems. So one of the things that people are doing is introducing, for example, high farming, drip irrigation. People are trying to reduce how they irrigated their crops before. They're using now simpler and most effective ways. For example, there's Ukulima Tech in Kenya. It's a company that uses, they use hydroponic irrigations or way of farming, so that they use also fishing, and the water from fishing is then recycled into plants. And this is helping farmers across the country to be able to plant and get food, really, because it has become a problem, especially for people living in the urban areas.
Yeah.
So more people are going into doing gardening, and Ukulima Tech comes in
I
to
think
be
the
able to.
GDP of Africa is morely on this agriculture, right? If I'm right.
Yes, they rely on agriculture, majorly on agriculture. So, and people in the urban areas are suffering because they're not able to receive food from the villages. So Ukulima Tech, a company in Nairobi, is helping people in urban areas and also in the villages to be able to do small gardening using very effective ways of irrigation, and that you can have your vegetables at home, and it's a good thing that they're doing.
Yeah. So thank you, Maureen. So that was really an insight to the climatic crisis in Africa. On next up, we have Jenga from Kenya, who is editor at the Exchange Africa. So basically, Jenga will be giving us an insight about the food security in Kenya as a result of Kenyan crisis. As far as to my knowledge, acute food insecurities remain elevated due to the impacts of droughts, like multiple reasons like below average crop and livestock production, and high inflation approaching the catastrophic situation. So Jenga will be discussing upon the food security and safety in Kenya, and how can we ensure that our farmers are eventually citizens and consuming healthy food in the light of crisis and effects, therefore, and how can the citizens ensure to have access to good, healthy food, which will be available all year round. Also, he will mention upon how the Kenyans have made progress to ensure this. The communities across Africa, this has actually affected the communities across Africa, including Kenya, Nigeria, Ethiopia, and Somalia. And these are facing the worst food crisis seen in 40 years. It is the worst food crisis and decades. It's only just hitting the headlines, but so it is high time that we get to know more about this and take an action towards this. I think we are having some technical error that we are not getting Jenga. So let's see if we can get to the next reporter. So there is something I have wanted to tell you, that the food insecurity remains elevated due to the impacts of drought, multiple below average crop and livestock production seasons, and high inflation. And can we please connect to Jenga? I think we'll have to move to the next reporter. We have Yvonne Kaviria from Kenya, who is a senior producer of Tuko Media, who will also talk about the food securities due to effects of locust in East Africa. If I'm right,
yes, that's right.
The locust outbreak to hit East Africa in decades have now entered into the first breeding period, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So can you please explain more of it?
For the past 2 years, we have the region, East African region, has experienced an outbreak of locust infestation, and this has severely affected the food security. It does not help that this is coming right in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, where also food security was affected because many people remained behind their houses, inside their houses, instead of going out and farming. So this has largely affected the food security in East Africa. And when we talk about data on food security in East Africa, there's a report by ICP that says that more than 10 million people in Kenya, Ethiopia, Sudan are already facing the severe food insecurity crisis. And this is not helping because we are still experiencing drought in various parts of the East African region. A further 2.34 million people will still continue to face this food security crisis in the next coming months if nothing changes. However, there's a few areas that have started to receive rainfall in parts of East Africa as well. So this could help sustain parts of the East African food security crisis, parts of the region. But the crisis is still ongoing, and millions are facing starvation in East Africa because of this crisis.
Can you give us some data-driven data on the same?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Like I said before, there was the 2.4 million people who are severely affected by the food insecurity. That is in Uganda and South Sudan. In Kenya, however, we also have a county in Turkana. In Kenya, a county named Turkana that is facing severe starvation, and this is particularly affecting women and children. And when we talk about data, we are saying, like experts have said that this will continue to affect people up to 3.24 million in South Sudan, Uganda, parts of Kenya, and parts of Ethiopia because of this. And so if the situation continues as is, it could risk continuing or spreading further to another 13 million people who will be affected by the food insecurity crisis if nothing changes. However, the good news is parts of Kenya, parts of Ethiopia, and parts of Uganda have started receiving rainfall. So we are hoping that this situation will change, in the coming months.
What are the measures that could be taken upon?
I think that now that the rainfall has come in parts of the parts of the region, the farmers can get, the government can actually subsidize some of these food seedlings or the products that are used in farming to ensure that the farmers take up as much as possible, take advantage of the rainfall and plant as much as they can right now with the subsidized costs. Then it will help at least, and then in the coming months, there's an assurance that there will be food production in the region.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Yvonne.
Thank you so much.
That was really an insightful from your side.
All right. Thank you so much, and have a lovely afternoon.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Yvonne.
Okay. Bye.
So on next up, we are getting back to Jenga from Kenya. We couldn't join to get back, so we are getting back to him. He is an editor at the Exchange Africa. So Jenga will be giving us an insight on the food security of Kenya due to the Kenyan crisis. As far as my knowledge, the acute insecurity remains elevated due to the impacts of drought on multiple regions, below average crop and livestock production, and seasons and high inflation, which is actually leading to a catastrophic situation. So handing over to Jenga. Hi, Jenga. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you? Hello,
good.
everyone. All right, it's good to have this, and I am grateful. So sorry for the glitch a bit
No issues,
earlier.
no issues. That's
All
totally
right.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, can we discuss about food security and safety in Kenya?
yes. So when it comes to food security, it's not just about the availability of that food. And that is why I was interested in the safety of it. Because you find that if you have food that is not safe to consume, that is not healthy to consume, or that does not provide the nutrients that you're seeking, then it beats the logic of saying that you have food security. So to many people, food security would be the availability, but now safety with security means it is food that is there and it is safe to consume, which means there is no harm whatsoever to anyone's health. And I am looking at the challenges that we have had with the climate change and the crisis thereof. And yes, there are many things that are happening in Kenya, especially. We've had a ban for over 10 years against genetically modified foods in Kenya, but it has just been lifted. Yet there are many questions regarding the safety of this food, and therefore it beats the logic of why should I have a full tummy, but then 5 or 10 years down the line I have to go see a doctor because of a condition that was brought on by the food. So in as much as there is a climate crisis that is happening right now, we also have to be considerate and cognizant of the fact that when it comes to food safety, that has to be a priority. And there are many ways that people will say, oh yeah, we are dealing with the challenges of hunger or famine or drought. But then if safety is thrown out of the window, then it means that we are risking the lives of the people.
Yeah. So Jenga, how can we ensure that our farmers and eventually citizens are consuming healthy food?
There is age-old skills that farmers use, and we cannot have food without seeds. So we have to ensure that the seeds that farmers have are clean, they are not tampered with, and it is regardless of whatever, you know, the naysayers will tell you the indigenous seeds will not be productive, the yields are not as high, and we cannot meet the demand for food as it is. Really, it doesn't make sense, because our situation in Kenya is very unique. For instance, we are ordering food or allowing the GMOs to come in, yet we have more than enough food in some of the counties where it is going to waste because, one, there is a lot of rain in those areas. Secondly, there is poor transportation systems and infrastructure in those areas, meaning that we first need to address the challenges that we have. So we may complain about the climate crisis and seeing it as an opportunity to bring in technology, but we also have to address the challenges that we have first before we open our borders and our ports to all these foods that are coming from different countries, which are genetically modified. You asked, how can we empower the farmers?
Yeah.
By ensuring that we have and we protect their way of doing farming. And this is using their indigenous seeds and their skills and the age-old tradition of farming that people or farmers have been using. We cannot kill that and think that mechanized agriculture or genetically modified agriculture is what will plug in the gaps that we have. So we have to first protect our farmers as even we address the challenges that come with climate change.
Okay. So in the light of the climate crisis and the effects thereof, how can we ensure that the citizens have access to good food, healthy food, which is available all around the year?
There is ways of mitigating climate crisis. For instance, the droughts. In some instances, it is flooding. In our case, we get rains, but all this surface runoff goes to waste. It will go down to the sea and it will not be tapped in any way. We can build dams which can be used for irrigation, which will ensure that we have cycles of food production, whether we have dry seasons or whether we don't have adequate rainfall. So we can have dams that will enable farmers to produce enough food regardless of whatever time of the year, regardless of whatever climatic changes and challenges. So unless we tap into this, then it means that we'll keep singing this song of we are hungry, we need aid, we need food, yet we have all the resources that we need. As long as people are prudent with the resources that they have. If government is prudent with the resources that they collect from the people in forms of taxes, by building the dams, by ensuring that they tap the river water and the rainwater and all that, and making it available to the farmers, then we can be able to address the challenge of food insecurity.
Okay. So what is the Kenyan government doing for this? Has the Kenyan government done any progress for the same?
We have a new administration, which is almost 3 months old. And what we have seen previously are experiments which have failed. We have one project called Galana Kulalu, where the government was trying to farm the staple, which is maize. Yeah. It is still ongoing from the government, clarifying that it was not a problem and they will continue with it. But we see that that was one, if it was done well, it could have produced at least some food for those who are most affected by lack of it. Secondly, the government has committed to building dams, which is a big thing for us. If we would have the dams, then we would have enough water, which would help us to grow enough food for us. We irrigate a very small portion of our land in Kenya. And so if we could move from rain-fed agriculture to irrigation, then we could be able to mitigate these issues of famine, hunger, and drought. And then we would not be needing to import food that is being questioned of its safety or, when people consume.
Okay. So thank you so much, Jenga. That was such a fantabulous report from your side.
All right.
Yeah. So this is it from our side, from Africa. So wrapping it up, Kenya is a clear example as a result of climatic change. The flooding of lakes are a major threat to human mobility by displacing a large number of people who may have nowhere to go. And they are causing loss of traditional territories and cultural and social importance. It is time to shed light on the policies, priorities, and the commitments of the government in responding to the climatic change and important climatic relevant activities. So that was all from Africa. Coming to the wrapping up of the show, well, like every good thing that comes to an end, we will also have wrapping up of the show now. I really hope our audience could take away something new, something different from what they already knew about the climate crisis. The crisis is hitting home, and it's absolutely necessary that we respond to this emergency with urgency and agency. Through the Global Pop-Up Newsroom, we try to string the world through a linear, we try to show through how the crisis is coming for us, and it is high time that we protect what is ours and show responsibility towards issues that we have caused in the first place. I will leave you with that, with a good thought that I have. It is never too late until it is. So let's brace up, put our heads down, and work hard, because this problem can be reversed. Last but not the least, I want to thank our producers from Asian College of Journalism who helped make a show success for all their hard work that went into bringing the Global Pop-Up Newsroom. Thank you for joining us. The Pop-Up Newsroom will be back with more very soon.